Yeah, they're giving you $8,000 a month to influence your political views. I think that's pretty obvious. And they just have to say, don't use it for whatever, for political content, or don't use it
You
for a
think they were
specific
giving them
video.
8,000 to influence their political views? Are there any course creators who change their political views before they?
You think they were giving them
went through this program?
$8,000 a month to teach them how to use?
No, because I'm not a fucking 5-year-old.
This is the panel on the Wired Chorus article. Appreciate you guys joining. Within the last week, if you guys didn't see, there was a Wired article from Taylor Lorenz where she was complaining about money, dark money in the content creator space, especially in TikTok, where people like Bryan Tyler Cohen had programs named Chorus where they were paying a bunch of other people, other content creators to be part of this group, and they feel like this was wrong, that they weren't disclosing the money, and they called it dark money numerous times, meaning that it's coming from undisclosed sources as well. So we got a bunch of people here to talk about it. We'll go around and allow everybody to introduce themselves, and then go ahead and give a 2-minute intro. So we'll start with Dispel.
Hi, Tom. My position on this is basically Taylor Lorenz is sort of a creator that's had a lot of missteps previously, and she has finally hit something that has made it big into the zeitgeist. I thought this was a great opportunity for Dems to really hone in on what they believe in, what they think is virtuous, and I feel really disappointed by them. And I think, honestly, the thing to look at is the backlash against the people who are criticizing dark money or who have a position against dark money. I think it's incredibly overblown, and actually it's kind of like abusive in some circumstances, or some real like in-group, out-group messaging. And I think the Democrats are at their strongest when we don't need to do this sort of messaging.
All right, thank you. LonerBox.
I think there are some things that were obviously, I think, revealed about Chorus that could be improved upon. I think personally, if you are taking funding, even if they're not telling you exactly what content to do, I think if you're getting $8,000 a month or $1,000 or $2,000, it's probably worth telling your audience that you're getting funded by someone. Just because it's nice for your audience to know. Like it might influence the way some people want to donate to you via super chats or via PayPal or Patreon or anything like that. If they think you're already covered by someone else, that might sway the decision one way or the other. The fact is, though, this piece was not we see a good thing, but they should do better. That's not what this article was. This article was a hit piece. It was a piece that used very, very leading language and lots of excessive connotations and comparisons that were basically used to paint this in a completely negative light and to attack the creators involved in it, to the point that I think the most revealing thing is that you can see the people who support Taylor's article, big creators on the online left space, and the conclusions that they've drawn from it. For example, saying that this is DNC money, people being told to push the party line, people being paid to not talk about Gaza. Like this is the kind of conclusions that these people are drawing from her article, and it's not an accident. Like the way that the language is used in that article is very deliberately swayed to make something that is not really that much of a newsworthy issue into something very, very overblown. And I think people should be aware that there's a difference between someone who wants you to do better and criticism that is not constructive at all. And this is the latter.
All right. Thank you, LonerBox. Prime Cayes.
Hello. First of all, thank you to my friend TOMFOOLERY for inviting me, and thanks to everyone here from joining in. I've been saying, and I've been doing this for a few years, I've been saying that we need infrastructure on the left, that clearly the right has it, clearly members of that cohort, that ideology, the influencers are being paid. When Operation Spring Forth out of nothing, but then have sleek videos, well produced, edited, in a way that just doesn't happen organically, like literally studios. One person I'm thinking of in particular, Dave Rubin, literally nothing, failed comic, left TYT, and with nothing. And then all of a sudden showed up with a completely decked out studio in a mansion. How that happened, right? Now haven't said, hey, we need that, but we need something. We need I honestly a lot like this program, an incubator program, that can help individuals. So like the very idea, I'm actually pretty supportive of, right? I'm hedging my bets here. But in the end, the thought that they can't disclose their affiliation, that ruins pretty much the whole thing for me. That undermines the trust and authenticity of the creators. And I think their audiences have every right to rebel, to ask questions, and demand answers there. So I'll leave it there for now.
All right, thank you. Quick thoughts.
Yep. Hello. I post on TikTok under the username QuickThoughts. My take is I think the facts of the Wired article are probably correct, and I have 5 reasons for thinking so. First, Wired is a reputable magazine. They have editors, they have lawyers. They aren't just going to post stuff, making it up or without good evidence. Second, there are 90 plus Chorus creators, all of whom have their own copy of the contract, any of whom could disprove the Wired article by showing their contract, and none of whom have. Third, Chorus itself could disprove the Wired article if they wanted to by showing the contract. Fourth, Chorus or the creators could contact Wired and show them the real contract and say, look, you made a mistake, publish a correction or a retraction, or we're going to have to sue you. And that hasn't happened. And then fifth, one woman named in the article, Ali O'Brien, posted on TikTok and showed a page of the contract, which basically confirmed part of the Wired article. And so that tells me that Taylor Lorenz actually did see the contract before she wrote the article. So I think the facts are probably correct, but the reaction I see from the Chorus creators, I've seen 5 or 6 of them post reactions. And the reaction is always to say basically that it's fake news, that Taylor Lorenz is an internet troll, that the facts are all wrong, it's riddled with errors. I haven't seen any substantive errors in the article, so I think the facts are probably true. And it just strikes me as a really dangerous way to respond to a substantive criticism. Like Dispell said earlier, I think it's like the reaction is almost worse than what's being claimed in the article. And I'm reminded of a line from Nietzsche who says, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he become a monster." And to me, it seems like Democrat influencers are taking a page out of Trump's book. When you get substantive criticism from the media, just say, nope, fake news, attack the journalist and ignore it. So.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And then Mercedes.
So in my situation, like, for example, I was a right-wing influencer. So I come from the right. I've been in their like ecospheres. Like I understand a little bit more when it comes to like the money that they take or like the organizations over there. I've gained a pretty massive following as a right-wing influencer. And I'd say that, like, for me personally, I see where people are talking about, like, okay, these are the facts of the article, that these could be deemed like fair criticisms, this and that. But I just like to step out and be like, okay, I totally understand what we're trying to debate. I just don't know if this is the time to do so. Like, right now we're going up against Trump. We're going up against this ecosphere. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the bubbles where it's like red and blue, and it seems to be that the red media sphere completely outweighs the blue. So this was, I think, an attempt for liberals to combat that red wing ecosphere. And obviously, it might be their first time really doing this. Like, the right has a lot of experience doing this. I think they've been doing this for the past 10 years. So I think there's going to be mistakes made. But I just think like the article was more in bad faith as a kind of like a witch hunt, if you will, at the wrong time in history.
All right. So does anybody here think that they didn't need to disclose this information? Is there anybody, a show of hands, anybody who thinks the creators didn't need to say that they were part of Chorus or getting money from Chorus? No? Okay.
A show of hands or a wing? No
Yeah.
wings? Okay.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
making sure.
okay.
Low key,
All right.
kind of.
Kind of?
I kind of, yeah.
Okay, why do you think that?
Because I just don't think it's a big deal. Like, when it comes to, I don't care who these, like, I do care if creators are being paid to say certain things. But as long as you can prove to me that you are not getting paid to say certain things, like these whatever speech or whatever your supposed to be presenting on social media, as long as like they don't influence exactly what you're saying, I really don't care if people are being funded so that they can quit their jobs and like pursue this full time.
Hold on, but how would you know if they didn't disclose, right? How could you
I think
make that assessment? Yeah, go ahead.
I just feel like that would come out eventually. Like I think that at any degree, like with how
You have to
maybe
wait
it's
for a
just
leak.
because
You have to wait for a leak, and then you'll find. So okay, so your plan is
true
that
that.
we want to create a system where there are shadowy links between organizations, and then we hope that there is a leak at some point, and then we can assess whether we can trust this individual afterwards.
Okay, so for example, what to you, because even if they were getting paid to say certain things, like okay, so I know like I'm pretty sure the DNC sends out these talking points. I don't think they're told they have to report on this or they don't have to report on this, but they send like a general list from what I've heard from someone who's in the DNC. Now, this is a creator, but so like if they get like a general list, even if they were to get some degree of talking points, if they were along the liberal message or if they were along whatever pushes the line on this side, I'm like low key for it, not gonna lie.
That's not my objective. Yeah,
Objection.
that's not my problem. Objection. Thank you. Thank you so much. But that's not my problem with the issue, right? It's simply that the relationship is not being disclosed and being transparent. You can have a relationship where you are a mouthpiece, right? They can literally parrot you. That's a spokesperson, right? That's
Ew.
what the State Department does, right? That's what the White House, was it Carolyn Levitt or something? Who works at the White House? That's what she does, right? And that's a fine relationship to have with an organization, right? Even if you're lying, at the very least, we know what your relationship is. So I don't necessarily care about the talking points, just that it's revealed. I know who Carolyn Levitt works for, right? I know who any spokesperson works for. But when you hide it and pretend you are otherwise, that's the issue.
Well, we're talking about, just to be clear, are we talking about saying that they were paid or saying that they were with Chorus? Because lots of these creators showed quite clearly that they were with Chorus on their own content.
Oh, being
No?
paid.
They were all paid, right?
Sure, of course.
They were all paid.
I'm not sure.
They
I'm
all
not sure
received
all of them
we
paid
agree,
money, right?
we agree that they did disclose. It seems a bit, but plenty of them
Well, I
disclosed
mean,
that they were doing things with
some of
Chorus,
them
right?
may have disclosed. Some of them may
Well,
have
not may have.
disclosed
They were
some relationship.
disclosing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
so
okay,
some
so
of them
multiple people could
disclosed,
have
but we
multiple
don't know.
contracts.
Yeah, we don't know how many of them disclosed. I don't think we have a ratio. Some of them didn't disclose, I believe. And then I'm not sure how many of them disclosed that they were getting paid. And I think the paid relationship does change things a lot. Like there's a big difference between, I listen to the messages that the DNC wants me to say, and the DNC pays me $8,000. And I know that my hope of continuing to receive $8,000 a month is kind of resting on what exactly I'm saying on social media.
Yeah,
So,
but well, first of all, the DNC doesn't pay them. This isn't DNC money.
I was using that as an example, but
Okay.
there's a difference between that. And I think Chorus probably is connected to the DNC. So, for example, like there's a Chorus DNC chair forum where Bryan Tyler Cohen says that like the purpose of Chorus is to fund the next generation of Democratic influencer. So it's not like a crazy example I was giving or a crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the
metaphor.
Venn diagram isn't like a circle, right? There's going to be like a sort of merger between the two. But problem with what you're saying, Mercedes, is that we have a problem with you saying, yeah, I don't mind disclosing anything. We shouldn't be disclosing anything. But what Chorus did was they followed the law according to official disclosures. But the problem is we want to see virtue in your decisions, and that virtue isn't that people need transparency and honesty from the Democratic Party. It's the virtue you're showing is we're just going to use the same systems that Donald Trump does because we're benefiting from it right now. And actually, content creators like you who are paid to be on public forums are getting the same sort of incentive, right? It's slightly different, but it's going to sway you.
Wait, like getting paid from who?
I mean, I don't know your funding sources. I haven't really.
Oh no,
revealed
I
it.
don't get
think
paid
you
from no
need
one.
to. But right,
Yeah.
if you're an organization taking money from individuals or from institutions, I think that people deserve to know where that money is coming from, what their intentions are, and what sort of checks there are on the person, on the mentee-mentor relationship.
Yeah, but just to be clear, I agree that people should disclose if they're getting funded, and I don't even see why it would bother the audience. Like, it's probably the audience would probably like it to know that their favorite creators are getting funded to do what they love, right? That's probably not a terrible thing. But if that were the only story, first of all, it doesn't seem like they were making an effort to like bury this. If you go on Chorus's website, they talk about how creators who join Chorus get a monthly stipend. Okay, we know that with the Chorus Incubator program that was announced. I don't know why Taylor keeps going on these interview shows saying it was secret. It wasn't a secret program. And also, we know that these multiple creators used videos of them with the Chorus newsroom or the Chorus DNC chair in their own channels. So the effort to hide this relation and the fact that there was money involved is not exactly like very strong. But if this was
So
just a
some
case
of
of,
the
it would be
some
good.
of the creators disclosed.
Again,
Yeah,
if this was just a
Look,
case of like,
that's the
if they,
case. There could be multiple stages that Chorus planned out for their implementation, their introduction to the public. The first stage could have involved select creators publicly disclosing that they have a relationship with it, testing the waters, liberalism, incrementalism to see how things go, reversible adjustments, and then you take broader and broader scope. But I mean, I think the big question here is actually, Tom, is Chorus paying you?
No.
Nope. All right.
Is that the bigger question?
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I figured it's
I'm
worth
just-
asking.
I was
In the
just
spirit of, like,
saying,
critical inquiry, right?
I'm just
And
saying that
transparency.
if this story were just like, okay, it doesn't look like you've made some effort to bury this relation. It just seems that you didn't do like some announcement or tag on your channel, or like there should be some established standard, which again, we don't know what the established standard is for this, but like maybe you could have had like one TikTok where you're saying, yeah, by the way, I'm getting money from Chorus to make content.
The
and they're giving
established
me guidance or
standard
something.
is from
So
the
if that
FCC
were-
and the FEC, the one that is ruled by the Trump regime right now. And the ongoing expectation of standard is based on you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that if this were the only issue, this
there
wasn't
is
a
an
massive
effort.
story.
Or what
I think there
LonerBox
is an
finish,
effort
because
to keep
he
it
had a
secret.
couple of times where he was interrupted. So LonerBox finish and then quick thoughts.
Again, if this were just like, you don't legally have to say that you're getting paid, it didn't seem like you were trying to bury it, but it would have been better if you did do better going. That's not really the story that's come out from this. That's not the implication of Taylor's article either. We all agree with that, right?
So I think there is like an effort to hide the program. So on the Chorus website, on their FAQ, will I be publicly listed as a Chorus creator? They say no. They say we also ask Chorus members to refrain from discussing other creators in the program. From the Wired article, it tells you you can't criticize other Chorus members. You can't talk about sources of funding. You can't say that you're being paid by Chorus without prior consent. So like there is clearly an effort to conceal it. I think it's fair to call it secretive.
That's not an effort to, nothing
again,
you said was an effort to conceal.
Okay, telling people not to disclose is an effort to conceal.
Definitely
and
not.
saying
No, it's not. No, it's
saying,
not.
Yeah,
It's definitely
it is.
not in line with a value
explicitly-
system that's
okay,
radical
just
Hold on,
transparency.
let quick thoughts
explicitly,
finish.
We also ask, saying explicitly, we also ask Chorus members to refrain from discussing other creators. I think that's also an effort to conceal. And then I'd also say that Bryan Tyler Cohen, again at the Chorus DNC forum, he mentioned that Chorus is not a front-facing media organization. It's more of a back-end engine to raise up new democratic content creators. So again, it's like there is some effort to conceal. They aren't trying to be upfront about it. That's why they require you to get prior consent to divulge that you're in the program and being paid.
Well, as far
I
as
don't
the
know if I
payments
understand
go,
that.
real
I
quick,
like-
as far as the payments go, quick thoughts. If the website and like Bryan Tyler Cohen already announced the Chorus program and they do say that they're paying content creators, and then content creators might say that they're part of the Chorus program, but they don't say that they're getting paid. Do you consider this equivalent? Like they say, I'm part of Chorus. Chorus says we're paying content creators. They don't actually say I'm being paid. Is that?
I think people who have disclosed that they're part of Chorus basically haven't done anything wrong. And I don't think it's like such a huge deal even. Like maybe it's a little bad. You should have disclosed, I'd prefer it if you disclosed. And I'd really prefer to hear your reasons why you chose not to disclose. But like I was saying at the start, what I think is the big story or the big issue is that rather than react to what seems like a factual article from Wired and Taylor Lorenz, the content creators just say, no, it's fake news. It's riddled with lies or inaccuracies. It's slander and so on. So again, I don't have a huge problem with taking left-wing creators taking money from a left-wing organization. It would be better if they disclosed it. Some of them did disclose it. That's great. My problem is with their reaction to it.
Okay, Mercedes.
So I guess I have a bit of disagreement there. Then because it's not simply disclosing that I've been working with Chorus. It's also should be like, hey, I'm being paid, right? Like so. I worked with the organization Progressive Victory like years ago, and I did 2 streams with them. One was like a fundraising thing, and the other one was like a messaging thing. I think it was a while ago. In any case, during those streams, I like put like their assets, like their signs, like all over, right? And then in the description is the title, but sponsored by Progressive Victory. There was no secret as to what was going on, right? And what'd you say?
Did you feel proud to hold those titles at the time? Like to put the banners out, the advertising?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ashamed. I'm not proud is the word, but like, I mean, it wasn't nothing shameful about it. I liked the organization, I liked what they were trying to do. So yeah, not an issue. So anyway, I put all that up. And I think that if you're being paid specifically, you need to be telling about that relationship, because it's a different relationship than simply partnering with an organization to do something, right? We're going to fundraise for a good cause, but I have no financial relationship with whatever partner I'm working with, right? Like that's different from literally being paid by them. So that needs to be disclosed, right? And you can do it simply, like you could do it like a little just a thing at the top of your screen on the like powered by Chorus or something, and you can announce it to your audience, and anyone asks afterwards, then you can just let them know rather than having to repeat it every time, right? We can put it in your description, right? The description of your videos. There's all kinds of ways you can do it, and I think maybe I don't know if all of them. I don't know how many people did what and to what extent each creator did that, but for those who didn't, yes, I think you did something wrong.
I believe that's against the law.
You acknowledge as well that at least the relations that people had with PV were a bit different from Chorus, because with PV, they were licensing, at least for me, they were licensing my content. So like I would make content and they could use it on their channel and edit it. And then I was also involved in getting interviews with people organized through them, and not to mention the canvassing and getting the audience involved as well. So there's obviously a lot more reason for transparency there than for a program that helps you with personal development as a creator. Yes.
No.
Well, why no?
So no, because of the things I just said, that like when you're being paid by that organization, and again, I don't think it like, I don't assume anything that's nefarious from them, right? Just saying, like, again, like something quite small, powered by Chorus, and then maybe put in your description that this stream is paid for by Chorus, or whatever, right? Whatever exactly the details of the relationship are, you could just disclose that, and that's enough. Right.
I believe that's illegal, though.
Right. So I just illustrated
what's
why.
What's illegal?
Well, isn't because it's a 501c4 that they're not actually powered by, they're not sponsored by them at all. They are not sponsors. They're not even allowed to use the money for their content.
They need to have radical transparency, both in PV, which is what he.
I understand, but the difference is they're not actually powered by. They're not allowed to use the money for their content. The money is not allowed to go towards their content. It is specific, very, very clear.
No, it is allowed to go towards the content.
No, it is not.
I mean, what?
It is like they can
like a Chorus
create content
backed by Capital One.
It literally.
What's that? It says in the article that if you create content for like with the money to do this, then you can't. Then there's restrictions applied to it. You could use the money to create content. Why wouldn't you be able to? What would be the point?
Prime, you're a radical disclosure, and that's what I think the value that all three of us share right now. And LonerBox is not a radical disclosure. He didn't disclose much at all. How much he was earning, what he was doing. I don't know. Like, it feels hypocritical
that I was paid by PV. What are you talking about?
The show to defend dark money. Meanwhile, Prime is here, also having taken dark money, and is still against it. He's somebody that I trust to be in office to talk about Citizens United and the harm that it's caused in America.
Wait, are you trolling? I did disclose I was paid by PV. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. This is. I don't think you understand here. This is my country. Prime actually shares values that I have, and I would prefer him.
Okay, so you are trolling. Yeah, you're trolling. I don't wait. Okay. So you said that I was against disclosure and I didn't disclose. I did disclose that I work with PV, that I was being paid by them while I was being
No,
paid
the
by
difference
them.
between you and Prime is his
I'm not American?
virtues align with radical transparency.
I'm just saying that
Am I
them
the only one
not
who just, like, doesn't
disclosing what
even
happened with an incubator program is not like a massive newsworthy ground-shaking story. It's not a big deal. Like, if you want to
So-
do that, I told you, I agree that they should have said that they were paid, but that's like, again, you would probably want to advocate for a change in the law then, so to make sure that people have to do that across the board. Because a lot of the people in chorus might have been thinking, well, other people aren't obligated to do this. Like, why would I be? And again, given that they were not paying for them like directly
What's your
to produce content
disagreement
with
with
directions
me
or to license their
specifically?
content.
What's your disagreement with me specifically? Because if you're saying, hey, you should disclose, and I'm saying, hey, this should disclose, what exactly is your difference for me, LonerBox?
My disagreement with, hang on, my disagreement with you seems to be that I don't think that's the only issue. It doesn't seem like you're just saying, oh, I think they should just disclose and they should do a bit better on that. That doesn't seem to be the issue that you have. I think you're
No,
goes further,
that's
no?
the only issue I brought up. That's the only thing I've said up till now is that, hey, you should
Well,
be
it's also
disclosing
the kind
you're
of
being paid.
abusive reaction from liberals to this towards leftists who are critical. And the great thing about the left is that we internally critique. We have rational capabilities to analyze two arguments against each other. And the problem is we're just seeing, people taking money from sources, they don't really know or can like sort of explain what's going on. There's all this money sloshing around, and we want the Democrats to be transparent about what's going on.
Wait,
And
sorry,
this
I
isn't
just
even
remembered.
funded by the Democrats. There's people associated with the Democrats or aligned with liberal values. I mean, Mercedes
Prime,
doesn't even believe in disclosing at all.
Prime, we also just disagreed on me saying that the nature of the Chorus incubator program was not the same as PV, and that PV was a lot more directly linked to the content itself with the licensing of content. Whereas we were getting lessons in how to use cameras and shit like that, right?
Sure, but I don't think that makes a difference for the purposes of this discussion, right? Like, yes, you could say maybe
it's a political
organizations aren't the
nonprofit
same
relationship to an
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah, like
I've heard
it doesn't matter exactly what's happening.
They're not paying you.
I think, well,
I've-
you don't think
I've heard
PV
the
had more
language
influence
they're
over the
not-
content than Chorus had over their creators? PV had a lot
So
more influence.
I had my relationship with PV was a lot more lighter hand than you. So I didn't sign any contracts or anything like that. So you might have had some sort of different setup and that I can't necessarily comment on. But I'm saying it doesn't matter what the situation is, right? You
Well, it does.
of course.
So
I
keep hearing
just like for any particular advertisement, right, that you do in your program, you like let them know you do an ad read, right, and people can understand you're being paid by them. Now they can decide for themselves if that alters the rest of your content. Almost certainly it won't, but still people can make that decision because they can see you making the disclosure right there by doing the ad read. Just like with these organizations, once you make the disclosure, then people can just make that assessment themselves. It's hiding. I don't know why. Again, it's not clear to me why there's any daylight between us. What difference does it make what the organization is? Exactly what is happening within our organization, as long as you're being paid by them in relation to like content creation, then you should be you should let the people know.
Because of how they influence your content. Because with PV, things that I did with PV that you didn't have to do with Chorus, it seems, was say doing drives in your viewer community to get them to go out and do canvassing and phone banking, or having the fact that there would be like a weekly news agenda where they would show you like a list of news stories, and then you would pick one, and then you take that news story and you do your coverage on it, and then you give them your content to use on their channel. It didn't seem like Chorus had that kind
Explain why that would equal a different prescription for handling the situation, even when you've already agreed on it.
Because again, if instead of that, I know you guys are just using transparency like it's a blanket statement. And again, obviously transparency with like a sponsored ad is not quite the same as transparency with PV, and not quite the same as with getting lessons in how to use cameras and lighting. Obviously, some of these influence your content and the direction of your content much more than other ones.
They literally had daily check-ins. Like, they had like messaging meetings. Like what are we talking about here? So like, I reject your argument like full face, right? Like as it stands, I reject it. But within the article, it talks about them having daily check-in meetings, right? And then direction meetings, like a separate direction meetings, like a whole level of infrastructure of when they're having this content and getting messaging, right? Now, I don't know how deeply that messaging was. I'm not sure if they were getting talking points necessarily, right? But still, that was part of the strategy. So I don't know why you're pretending like this relationship was just like learning how to use a camera, right? It was clearly a lot more. The article clearly says that.
But it seems to be the stuff that they did actually through Chorus was like they did it in places like the Chorus newsroom, where you can see Chorus logos everywhere.
I think you're being
How do you know?
evasive.
How do you know what they did through Chorus? Like Bryan was saying, they have daily messaging check-ins. They have twice monthly news events organized by Chorus. They're instructed to fully cooperate with any interviews with a lawmaker that they do through Chorus. So, why are you saying that the only influence they have is like, we're going to tell you how to get a camera or set up your microphone or something? Like, clearly, Chorus is giving you. Chorus is
$8,000 for a ring light tutorial.
Yeah, they're giving you $8,000 a month to influence your political views. I think that's pretty obvious, and they just have to say, don't use it for whatever, for political content, or don't use it for a specific video.
You think they were giving them $8,000 to influence their political views? Are there any course creators who changed their political views before they?
You think they were giving them $8,000 to teach them how to use?
No, because I'm not a fucking 5-year-old. No, I don't think that they were paying people to influence their views. Generally, people get funding because they're doing something that is already desired by the organization.
And values.
Dispel, hold on.
I want to hear from Mercedes because they're actually honest about their values.
I understand, but he's literally. Hold on. Dispel, hold on. Dispel, hold on. He's literally responding to what QT is saying to him and asking him. So he's responding to that. Go ahead, LonerBox.
Right.
Wait, to what QT was asking me?
Yeah, QT was just
about the difference between what Chorus's direction or.
I said Chorus is paying you $8,000 a month. They give you daily messaging check-ins, twice monthly news events, and they're helping you organize all your meetings with lawmakers. I think it's pretty clear that $8,000 a month gives them some influence over what you're going to say or not say.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then it would be fairly easy to show me at least one course creator who substantially changed their views before and after going in the program.
So, first, we don't even know all the course creators. We don't know all the course creators because they don't even disclose who is creating content for Chorus and who's not.
And now you're just saying of conjecture.
Nothing. It's not conjecture. You don't know the 90 Chorus creators, do you? That was never disclosed. That's kind of the whole issue, the fact that they don't disclose they're working for Chorus. The issue we're talking about now, at any rate. The second point is, no, of course, it would be incredibly hard to tell if someone's not covering a story because they're secretly paid, or if they're covering a story with a different inflection because they're secretly paid. That's absurd. How would I possibly prove that to you? Of course, they're getting money to influence their political views. They didn't disclose it. We can't know to what extent it influences their views.
So of course they are, but we just can't prove it because we don't know. So we can just fill in blanks.
I'm sorry. They're getting paid money to attend a YouTube tutorial on how to set up a ring light. That makes much more sense.
Well, that was what tutorial was part of it. Personal development was part of the program.
How many of you guys are in the short form content game? Are you guys? Are most of you guys YouTubers?
Oh yeah. Oh, at least I am.
Yeah.
So for those of you who run short form content platforms, do any of you guys do short form content to any extent?
I love it.
Yeah, QuickThoughts is on TikTok.
Yeah,
I love shorts on YouTube. I love TikTok.
But I do long form.
What is your following like on TikTok? This is relevant, I swear.
Oh, I don't actually try and post on TikTok. I just enjoy sort of the art of.
Yeah, so they're not just teaching them ring light tutorials. I think, to me, from what I see going on here, it seems as if these people are trying to get these people to dominate these short form media spaces. I don't even think half of these people, I think they do have some tutorial over on YouTube, but I feel like most of what they're trying to get these people to do is go viral on these short form content platforms, which is definitely more than just organizing a ring light. But I'd argue that if we don't have any proof that these people have been told that they can say this or can't say this, they're supposed to say this or not supposed to say this, I don't think we can just assume that, oh, the $8,000, it could have influenced what they chose to say and how they chose to say it. If we don't have any proof, I just don't think we can say that. I do believe that most of this is trying to teach content creators how to up their content game so that they can actually hit like these short form algorithms right. And then like
if I show up and give you $8,000 every month and I say, hey, here are the things, I'm interested in, like, of course that's going to influence whether you talk about the things I'm interested in or not.
yeah, but I just
I'm
don't.
giving you money.
Do
You
we
want
have
me to
any
continue
proof?
giving you money.
Do we have
What
any
proof
proof that
could-
that
what
course
proof-
is telling these
what-
people what they can and can't? Because I think $8,000 to teach.
I don't even
people-
think he's
okay,
making
like-
that claim. I don't think he's making
But,
that
like,
claim. I believe he's
$8,000 a
currently
month-
just saying that it's going to have some sort of influence, which is probably true, but
Exactly.
he's not saying that they're actually telling them what they can or can't talk about. So he's saying that, like, if they pick a bunch of liberal content creators, they know that if all of a sudden they start saying that they're in MAGA and they love MAGA, that they're probably going to drop them from the program.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd assume as such, but like, I don't. But to me, like, that's just not a problem. Like, as long as people are being told, like, you have to report on this story and you can't report on this story, and it like goes into the liberal ecosphere to some degree. Like, I don't even care if it's like moderate to liberal at this point, as long as it's not shilling for Republicans. I just don't give a fuck. And to me, I'm like, okay, $8,000 is well worth it to teach these people how to go viral and build up an ecosphere. I just think of it this way: it's like, if you have a problem with how this is supposed to be presented, I believe like go change the laws so that Republicans are forced to fall under the same umbrella as everyone else. Because right now, like, busting out videos and like the bottom of it says sponsored by Chorus or powered by Chorus. I think that looks gay as fuck personally. And I also think that people, especially conservatives, they'll look at that shit and they'll be like, yeah, we're definitely not coming over here. All these people are paid shills. Like, because they can't functionally understand that their side is paid shills as well. They don't believe it because those people never fucking disclose it. So even if we have a
Okay.
chance of trying to get these people over here and we're like, yeah, guys, we're in a paid group. I just think
So
Republicans
this is
are
an
gonna look at us
awful
like
this
we're
is an awful
retarded.
argument. First of all, like the thought, like, oh well, we don't want to, like, look bad in front of Republicans because what we do on our side is show transparency, right? And then
think
we
that's
won't
a
be able to
losing
attract a
strategy.
Republican a voter or whoever, right? Because of a disclosure in the corner, right? Just like any other paid sponsorship. That's like nonsense. I'm just like that.
Why do you keep comparing it
It's
to
like
paid
pointless to actually
sponsorships?
deal
It's
with.
not the
Hold
same as a
on,
paid sponsorship. There are
Hold on,
different legal
yeah. So
categories for these.
I disagree. Yeah, I disagree with you
Call
completely.
it a
Hold on.
scholarship.
I
Come on.
wanted to touch on what QT and LonerBox was discussing before, right? So I half agree and half disagree with you both, right? So with QT, I agree that there's certainly some level of influence on the content with $8,000. Like,
What is the
I think that's
influence?
obvious. 1 second. I think that's absolutely the case. However, I also agree with a LonerBox that, well, we don't know, like, to what extent that is, and we can't necessarily just like fill in the blank there. Like, you can, and to LonerBox's point previously, you can, as an organization, look out into the ether and go and find people who already agree. Right, like, this is how, like, this is the whole Noam Chomsky theory of controlling the message. Is that not necessarily that an organization goes out and censors and says, like, you can't say this or you can't say that. They find people who already agree, and then they empower them. They give them a platform they didn't already have. Right. It sounds like to me that's what Chorus was doing. They found, like, centrist, moderate, boring corporate Democrat shills, right, on the internet who are already saying the message that they wanted to say, right?
Or
And then they
babies.
empowered those individuals rather than like a leftist or a communist there, right?
They also
Yeah,
found
I
lefty
think that's
Democrats who
true.
were criticizing people for their voting records on Gaza, for example. They also found people who were doing that, at least two of them.
I think it is true that they pick people who they want, to see more of, and they amplify them. And also that the money continuing to go to those people influences what they say. And, I just think of, like, the Tim Pool receiving, like, Russian money through Tenet Media. Like, can we
Yeah,
prove that changed Tim Pool's mind on anything? I don't think you can
Okay,
prove that. I don't
Mercedes.
think,
Yeah, you
I don't
can
think you
actually.
can prove that.
Mercedes, I've got a thought experiment for
I don't
you.
think so.
If
How would you
the
prove it?
incentive structure
You can
in
prove.
Chorus
Hang
was
on.
different,
I was
so
just,
that
I was just
I
asked a
can't hear
question. I
getting
was just asked a question.
yeah, sorry, I was trying to give her a hypothetical.
I was asked it's a pretty simple
So
question.
right now, the
It's really-
Chorus structure
okay,
is $8,000, $5,000 a month, right? If the structure were to change so that instead the creator every month of the 90 who gets the most engagement or most growth, right, the metrics that people are interested in, they actually mean that people are engaging with the message, those people get the highest investment or like the highest prize for that month, right? So instead of everybody getting, you know, a certain amount of money based on contract, you instead sort of leave it up to their ability to manipulate the algorithms and put out a resounding message. How do you think those two sort of incentive structures differ or would produce different people, different results?
I don't give a fuck if you're gonna give people more money based off of their performance, so be it. I mean, I'm totally down for that. If someone can work the TikTok algorithm harder than someone else, then I agree. Like if you get a bunch of liberals in a room and they have liberal ideologies and they push liberal ideologies together, it's like a liberal organization to like expand liberal ecospheres. I really don't give a shit. And if there's a top performer who's like, hey, I understand the TikTok algorithm like the back of my hand, and they're performing better and teaching people better and getting people's accounts to grow even more, sure, pay them more. I think they're worth more. And as long as they're spouting the liberal message and not going hyper woke or hyper fucking fascist and going over to the right, like I just don't give a shit. As long as they say center to liberal, I don't.
We had a panel of what, like 14 people circle jerking over inside the liberal tent, fantasizing over who belongs inside the tent and who doesn't belong, right? Because this discussion is also about how should we cover people who are to the left of us being you, liberals? How should we cover them? Should we kick certain people out? And honestly, the backlash against leftists has been kind of abusive. Hutch is literally on the warpath. He's painting himself with paint for war paint and saying that he's at war. This is crazy.
Against people, like leftists?
Yeah. I mean, even like, you know, the bog standard calling for her to be sued for defamation, I think it's ridiculous. Yeah. And the content creators have a responsibility to like put their opinion saying like, hey, no, I don't think we should sue Taylor Lorenz. I think her hit piece was like extravagant and outrageous and it's really riled people up, but I don't think it merits being sued. But that's not happening with liberals. Liberals are not saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I think leftists just, we start to make some progress and then they're like, hold on, analysis paralysis here. We're going to tear the whole thing down. And it's like, wait, we're like not even competing when it comes to any of the sphere that they hold in media. So at this point, I mean, I understand the war paint. I'd probably buy a little panel of it and put it on my face too.
Yeah, I did want to come back to Prime. I did want to come back to what you were saying earlier because it is, so it's in their contract that they're not allowed to disclose these things, and it's because the structure of the program is that they're not allowed to actually they're not sponsoring their content, and that's why in the contract it also tells them they're not allowed to use the money that they're paid for their content. And so there's specific parts where it would be sponsored where they go through like the newsroom and crap like that, and that they would have to disclose it then, but that like that's why also it seems as though part of the contract is that they're not allowed to disclose course without getting permission first, because they have to go over how they have to disclose. Yeah.
What you said, so what you're saying there, I think is like, actually, what I think you're saying there is kind of misleading. So first of all, not to be that guy, am I the only one here who's actually done a contract that's similar to like even in the same area as this, like with content?
I mean,
I have not done with
does UFA count?
Okay.
I don't know if that counts.
Maybe, but maybe you can look at, or you can ask people that you know who have done this. Because like with PV, I was looking at my contract with PV yesterday. I don't work with them anymore, but there are so many sentences in that contract that I could use and pull out and do like a Taylor-esque article on. The problem is that there actually, if you can look at, there are parts of my contract with PV that you can say, you can frame it quite easily to make it look like they're telling me that I can't even talk about the existence of an agreement with me and PV. Like I could say like, you do not talk about Fight Club like in my contract. Now, obviously I spoke about PV a lot. I didn't get in trouble for violating the contract, even though I kind of did. Why? Because it's a very standard NDA thing when it comes to, especially with creators in the entertainment industries, because if you are involved with an organization, the reason that they have that in is because they would rather you make it as broad as possible for non-disclosure, because they would rather that you just violate it all the time in very benign ways than if they have a situation where there's an unexpected situation that they have to cover themselves for and they can't. So for example, if I was with PV and I said, oh, thank you, PV, the American PAC, for sponsoring me, a foreign commentator, to go and support the DNC with this money. And like, I could word a sentence like that in a way that might falsely accuse them of breaking like 5 laws. And if they don't have that non-disclosure there, then they can't really use that against me to cover themselves. So just because a non-disclosure or just because a contract looks very draconian, well, in
So
general,
you
they
can
do,
lie. There are laws against lying.
But it
There's
depends
laws
on how
already in place for lying.
it depends on how they are enforced. So that's
Okay,
why
if
what's
the
interesting about Taylor's that's why what's
contract-
interesting about Taylor's article is that there's none of it, I think, is built on testimony from people who actually worked with the organization and were treated in this draconian way. Actually, the creator who showed a piece of her contract, which looks like it's quite strict, coordinated with Chorus and everything, but she was literally saying, yeah, I haven't told Chorus like 9 out of 10 times. That's probably true. It's because it's there to make sure that there aren't FEC violations with them dealing with politicians. It's just boilerplate.
One, if the quotes from the contract or the references to the contract in the Wired article were non-representative, then anyone in Chorus or Chorus itself could reveal the full contract and explain how those quotes are non-representative. I'm getting to that with number two. Number two, you're saying, they're going to selectively enforce the contract. Of course. Like, why would they punish Allie O'Brien for telling her friends that she's in Chorus? They don't want to do that. They want to use the provisions of the contract to force the behavior they want, to punish behavior that they don't want.
Which is conjecture again,
You're saying, they're putting them in there for no reason, I guess. We signed a contract because we don't care what it says.
You did ignore what I said. It's standard, it's bog standard, boilerplate NDA to cover yourselves from risks of like legal issues. It's not to do with them forcing them to do anything.
You're saying it's standard to not disclose that you're getting paid? Or it's standard that you have to
LonerBox, you've already taken dark money. It makes sense that you're here to continue defending it so you can get more in the future. But Mercedes, I want to push back on
I'm not going to respond to this fucking troll.
Can you make sure you keep like accusing him of like taking dark money? But if you don't have any like evidence of this,
well, that's the problem. You disclose to these people, but then they say, who funds your funder? Who funds your funder? Okay.
Prime had taken dark money as well, and he's here on this panel in favor of radical transparency. LonerBox is ambiguous about his virtues, and Mercedes is honest and open about their virtues. And I suspect it's because they're an honest-to-God American.
Yeah, and you're ugly.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. So back to QT's claim.
So we come from we come from the place of play dirty as fuck. When I came over here on the left and I saw the shit that you guys get hung up on, and I'm like, that's why we lose. That's why we don't dominate the space. Because I just like watch these conversations that the left be having, and I'm like, it's like you guys sit there on the bleachers talking about the football game while the Republicans are actually like playing the football game, and they're touchdown, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's because it's like this side is just like hyper intellectual and they just analyze everything, where the right is just a bunch of like grunty ass motherfuckers who just do without thinking. I don't know like what's going. That's like a different analysis, but at the end of the day, I just think that I'm honest about it because I don't want to be in a position in which like we saw a decline in the right and then we saw a revamp of them. We saw them be revived, and I think we can attribute that to their ability to just dominate these spaces and take on the younger crowd. And then we're over here like diddling in the corner, like, we don't know what to do. This dark money shit. And then, Taylor Lorenz comes out and people are like mass and following some of these creators and they're like, oh my God, you're evil. And like Donald Trump's like doing the shit he does. And I'm just like, let's play the game and stop talking about it. But that's just.
I completely agree with you. I think the time for the Democrats to be they go low, we go high is over. But I don't think this is the time for the liberal establishment to look at the left and say, okay, we go low and you go high, right? The purity checking, I think, is coming mostly from the liberal side, who are chagrining on people like Pisco, who are platforming leftists and stuff like that. And I suspect Tom might get a little bit of shit for platforming us three as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like leftists are fun to like hang out with in the gay bars and shit like that. But when it comes to like leading movements and I don't know what's going on there. I just feel like it's always destructionary. Like we saw like what happened with the UFA tour, where I told Z before it even happened, I was like, hey, I am not joining because you got a bunch of leftists on there and they are going to implode this, and then it imploded, and I was like, told you. And now we've rebuilt it with not conservatives, with the what is it called? Liberals. I get confused because there's so many. There's like communists, socialists. I don't know who the fuck is over here, but we're just a bunch of liberals who are normal people who can say things without, I don't know, without getting tripped up.
Jumping down your throat.
Yeah, you can say, hey, you don't know how to organize without being accused of a goddamn microaggression and then being eaten alive. Like that's my problem with leftists or people on the left is she was one of the first people to organize something that would hit the ground game and combat Charlie Kirk, boots on the ground style. And even they that was not good enough for them, and they decided to implode the tour. So I got a sour taste in my mouth when it comes to people who identify as leftists, because they just think that they're counterproductive to anything, and they just want to burn down everything around them.
Well, I want to stick to the contract. LonerBox, you were talking about the difference between what it was that I was saying earlier and what you were saying is your experience with the contracts. What was exactly the difference there?
It's not just my experience. It's bog standard boilerplate contracts that can be worded to look very draconian, but are never practiced in that way. And obviously,
well, that's what
why
I was
QT,
saying.
when you asked why. Yeah, so when QT asked, like, why don't they just? So when you, I need to respond to the last thing you said first. I need to respond to the last thing you said.
While I was talking.
Well,
Prove it.
Yeah.
What's your evidence?
And then you kept talking.
What's your evidence that they aren't enforcing?
Wow, it's almost as if I was. It's almost as if I was just about to respond to that. It's almost as if I was just about to respond to that.
Okay, go ahead. How do you know?
Okay, I just told you, in case you can't put it together for yourself. Okay, with the fucking crayons that you're chewing on.
All you have to do
already
is
said.
I
already said you can grab. I already said the problem is. I already said the problem is that you can grab any part of one of those contracts, even with my PV one. You can easily take a paragraph from my contract to make it seem like I was never allowed to say a single word about PV. That's why. How do I know they're not doing that? Sorry, how do you know this thing that hasn't been shown to be happening isn't happening? Is not an argument. What the fuck are you? That's total conjecture.
My point is, you don't know.
How do you know they're not funded by Russia? How do I know you're not funded by Russia?
Good point. You don't know. Maybe I should have to disclose. It would be better if I did disclose who I'm funded by, wouldn't it?
Right, but he's saying not knowing, we would like assume that that's not happening. He's saying we'd assume it's not happening until there's evidence of it, though, right? Like, you agree with that, right, QT?
Here's a really simple question. Here's a really simple question to close this one, okay? We saw Taylor's article. It was full of testimony from people who looked at the contract but chose not to sign. Is there anyone who worked with Chorus and had that contract used against them in a predatory way who spoke in Taylor's article or has spoken up at all?
We don't know if there is or isn't.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't. No.
Predatory.
So
they willingly accepted it. It doesn't have to be predatory. It's about incentive structure. But LonerBox, if you're looking through your PV
that doesn't answer my question.
And you see things that align, one of the big things that us leftists are upset about is the liberal chagrin and snottery, like that is being directed
tell us
towards
about snottery, are you?
Abusive. But what I'm suggesting you do is, instead of railing against leftists, calling to war, calling to sue them, why don't you actually do a parody of her article with your PV contract? Show us how silly it is. Put in the creative work. Make something fun.
Okay.
That's
yeah,
also
you want to pay me
political.
for that? Maybe if you pay me, I'll disclose it.
Well, I want to move on to parts of the contract. So there were like questions about whether or not they were trying to stop people from criticizing Gaza, whether or not they wanted to incentivize people against criticizing the DNC and establishment Democrats. There's parts on, like, some of them were talking about earlier, is some of the meetings. Some people believe that they might be having meetings to tell them what to say and things like that. There was a conversation between Destiny and what was her name? Taylor yesterday on whether or not that she meant to imply some of these things, but that's still something that a lot of people ran with. Was there anybody here who felt as though a lot of the people who were part of Chorus didn't have the ability to criticize Gaza or to criticize establishment Democrats?
Not that I could see. Seems like, well, there was Ali who was very aggressive against anyone who was against who was in favor of arms to Israel. There was the Booker Squared person who was talking about, it wasn't Cuomo, was it Schumer to resign? Yeah, it seems like these people were fine to criticize Democrats, even on Gaza.
Yeah, there seems to be
no particular evidence. Oh yeah, but I was just saying I had no particular evidence of. One, I'm not familiar with any of these creators. The only one, how I originally found out about this was David Pakman made a response video to the article. I hadn't seen the article or heard anything about it originally. And from David Pakman's, at least original response, he seemed reasonable. But then he started trying to pretend like he doesn't know about funding sources, about PACs, APAC, IPAC. I don't know the difference. Yeah, bullshit, David Pakman. But still.
Wait, do you not watch David Pakman's content?
No,
He
what do you mean
mispronounces
best
words. He
interest?
intentionally mispronounces words all the time. It's a bit. He does that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's engagement
okay,
bait.
yeah.
It's a thing to get people
I'm
to
not
comment.
interested. Whatever might be the case, but in any case, like that's how I heard it. And like I said, when David Pakman made his case, I thought, like, from the way he said it, it seemed pretty reasonable. He said, like, no one was directing my content. No one said I couldn't do this or that, right? He said I would never sign anything like that. And like, and as I've been saying before, is that, like, I can't necessarily say that it was the case. Only that the money was there, and for other creators, that one, we didn't know that they were part of this altogether. Some disclosed, some didn't, and you simply should, right? You should mark your content. You should, or just like put something in the description. You can put. There's lots of ways you can be flexible about this, right? While having consistent disclosure, it's not that hard, and it's weird to get pushback on that at all.
It's also very descriptive of your values.
Well, yeah, I wanted to move on from like the disclosure part, because I know QT and Prime seem to have a lot of issues with the contract specifically. So quick thoughts. Did you want to get into some of that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I guess I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. I heard, kind of at the start of this, you're saying, they're not allowed to criticize Israel or Gaza or whatever. I think people have said that. That's not true. That's not anything I've seen. The restrictions in the contract that seemed like maybe challenging to me were like, you're not allowed to criticize other creators. Or, we just talked about the funding part of it. The fact that you have to funnel your interviews through the Chorus newsroom or through Chorus. And then the fact that Chorus can ask you to correct or remove any content that you create at a Chorus organized event. And you're asked to attend 2 Chorus organized events a month. And it's not clear to me if the interviews you organize through the Chorus newsroom count as a Chorus organized event. So, I think potentially the contract provisions do give Chorus influence over the creators. And I just want to finally say, like, I completely agree with, well, maybe that goes back to the funding thing. I completely agree with what Prime was saying, a second ago, but not to take us back there.
I mean, do you have an issue with them having some control over them? Do you think that that's predatory if they're paying them sometimes $8,000?
Well, I mean, yeah, like going back to what Prime said earlier, the way you would negate that influence is by disclosing it. So, like, if I'm getting paid to talk for the president, I should, say I'm being paid to talk to the president somehow. I should convey that somehow. And likewise, if whoever is funding Chorus is paying you and they're giving you suggestions on what to talk about and some restrictions on what you can talk about, criticizing other creators, correct or remove if you post content on a Chorus organized event. So, like, you should disclose that. I'm being paid money. I'm being suggested what to talk about.
Okay, I mean, we might have to stick to the disclosure for a
also,
while longer, because the problem that I'm having listening to it is that, for me, like, as a content creator, there's a lot, we all know that there's a lot of distinctions between, like, the types of things that you ought to disclose and then the things that are a bit more open. So if I go work at Taco Bell and I'm getting money from Taco Bell, if I all of a sudden make a burrito on stream one day, I don't know that people are going to think that I need to disclose that I work at Taco Bell, or that maybe they're the ones who taught me how to make the burrito, unless Taco Bell is sponsoring my stream. If all of a sudden, especially if I'm trying to sell things, if I'm trying to sell certain types of, if I talk about how great a Logitech mouse is on stream numerous times a day, and I'm being paid to say that, even if it's my real opinion, doesn't matter. If I'm being paid to say this, I need to disclose it. But when we're talking about people who are being paid to do things off screen that isn't actually on their content or in their videos, it seems weird. I don't understand where we would draw that line as far as, like, what their jobs are, what they're doing in their real life, who they get super chats from, who they get.
They literally get daily messaging from.
You're saying
like
messaging,
right?
I don't know. I didn't see anything saying messaging.
Yeah, I mean, that's what.
What does that mean? What do
I don't know
you
what it means. That's a good question, right? So, here we can look at it, right? So, I'm just reading from the article. The creators who join the incubator are expected to attend regular advocacy trainings and daily messaging check-ins. Those messaging check-ins are led by Cohen on rapid response days. The creators also have to attend at least 2 course newsroom events per month, which are events course plans off the evolve makers. I don't know the details of those, right? But I'm saying that like this idea that this is some light-handed relationship where like, oh, it's like it doesn't really have anything to do with content. It intimately has to do with their content, right? Even
No, I think it
helping
has
them
everything to do
create
with their content.
which is good. Again, I like the idea behind most of this. I actually think
Just to be clear, I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with content.
It's,
Just to be clear, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're not sponsoring their content.
Okay.
It obviously is a training course for them to grow their content.
But that's not. I don't know.
I
What's
think it
the
has to do
difference here?
with how to grow their content and not what to say or what not to say. Like if a messaging meeting is like, okay, this is how we give our messaging in a way that it reaches the algorithm is different than this is what I want you to say.
Yeah, so Ali O'Brien talks about this, and she goes into a little more detail. The messaging meetings, the daily messaging meetings, are about news stories that they want to talk about or they want to cover. And then in addition to that, there are trainings that are on their schedule. So the trainings are where you get stuff like, this is how you use Substack, this is how you create a YouTube account and whatever. And then the daily messaging is, here's what's in the news today that you could be talking about.
We did this with
I'm a
PV as
creator
well.
getting
Like with
money
PV, what
from
we did.
Chorus. I'm constantly going to be wondering, there's no way this money is going to last forever. And I'm going to be thinking to myself, under what conditions will this money stop? It might be we leave amicably with Chorus. It might be something that I say that they don't like and they just don't tell me. So I ask you again, Mercedes, how about this alternative incentive structure where instead of just bestowing awards onto people because they're people, which is rife with nepotism and black boxery and opaque rules and red tape, how about we just award the content creators who are the most ambitious and also get the best growth and results?
And they're not doing that. Like, do you think David
Well,
Pakman
yeah, I'm
makes
saying,
more than? I feel like
yeah,
David
the
Pakman
relative
makes
goals
more
of the
than like
organization, I don't think align
100,000.
well with the money. Excuse me, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think they already do that. Like, I guarantee people like Susan Lambert, like people who are hitting like the highest marks on the algorithm, I guarantee they're getting paid more than the ones who are lower.
I'm sort of thinking like instead of like a yearly review of like the content that you made, instead like a month by month sort of like competition board, and you have to climb the rank to get the top prize, $8,000 for that month, and then maybe second place gets $5,000, $3,000, something like that, and then maybe you still get the training. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Just coming back to the question on those weekly or the daily check-ins with the new stuff. Ali O'Brien's thing, again, it sounds similar to a PV thing. Like what we would do is we would just have every week they would tell us like, here are some news stories of the week. You could either choose one, or if you didn't like any of them, you could just do your own one and give that to them for the week. Like it doesn't seem like it would be that different.
Okay, so then you're saying this is
again,
like the relationship with PV then, and not like a different thing? These are
PV had a
it is
lot
comparable then.
Okay, debate bro.
It
PV
is a
had lot
political
more.
nonprofit.
I am a debate
It's
bro.
one
I'm glad you
similarity.
recognize
Yes,
that.
it's
But
one more similar. It's one similarity. Whereas with
okay,
PV,
great.
there was all kinds of things that involved like getting your communities involved in canvassing and advertising canvassing events, and and also the fact that they licensed the content. I don't think it seems like Chorus were licensing the content. So that's a much more direct
Again,
relationship.
none of that matters. Literally none of that matters. And I guess I want to go back to something because we seem to be stuck on this one issue. And this is to our friend Mercedes here. I think Mercedes, you started this talking about how Democrats Democrats aren't actually playing the game, something along those lines. You had a whole like a football metaphor there, and that basically we should like get behind a program and just like see what happens. So I reject
program, right?
Sorry,
program, not pogrom.
Yeah, and if you don't like the program,
did I say pogrom? I meant program. I didn't.
I don't
want. If I said pogrom, I
mishear you.
Okay, great. Well, certainly not. I meant program, to be very clear. Okay.
That's what I heard you said.
Okay, thank you. In any case, so I rejected the idea that like we can't have these discussions in real time. I rejected the idea that we can, like, for instance, accept the terms of these contracts made by well-moneyed individuals and say, well, you know what, now is not the time because Trump's in office and there's an emergency, right? We just got to get behind leadership. No, I'm not for that. I think that we can actually hash out our differences. And I think it's important to. I think that's why we are better than Republicans, conservatives, because them with respecting their hierarchies and them with their lack of ethics and their commentating relationships, right? They have a whole very secretive structure that's providing like by dark money that's providing the money, and no, we still have not really been able to examine that, right? We are better than them. And I think that's our strength, right? I think that gives people trust in us, right? By revealing these things. So yeah, I just had to push back on that. That's somehow a weakness. I think it's messy in the moment. It's always messy on the left, always. But in the end, I think we turn out better.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things could be true at once. I think that, like, ethically, that is our strength, but I think strategically it hinders us all day long. So, like, yeah, sure, transparency is a beautiful thing. Is that a winning strategy when the laws don't force it in the first place, and they have taken every loophole available to them to win and like wipe us clean? Also, that sucks. You know what I mean? So
hold on, but what's being asked? It's at least. For me, I guess I can't speak for Dispel and QT, right? It's very little. Just say with like do the organization, right? For me, right? Again, I'm fine with the organization as it stands. I keep saying I want more infrastructure for the left, and I think a lot of what this stands for is great.
Yeah, no,
But
and I think it's the overarching idea. It's the overarching idea that we're okay with this point here, and then we're not okay with this point here. So, like, for example, with the UFA, we say yes, we want an organization, but you aggressive against a Black woman. Yes, we want organization, but you guys are teaching each other how to make content, and I just have an inkling. Like, I don't have proof, but I have an inkling that it might be influencing your content. Like, at what point is it always going to be something? And that's my issue. Is it gets to a point where it's always something, always something, always something. And we're like, well, it is okay to be upset about this thing and this thing until it's a snowball of things that have completely stunted the movement.
Commentary, like as we stand, this industry is brand new. Like brand new in history, right? Like this Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, like conglomerate thing that we're creating has never been created before. This is not like journalism, which has like 100 years of content behind it, right? Of experiences, of news and practice and ethics, right? This is the time we have to figure that out right now, right? It might be the case that what it looks like for commentators is different from journalists, right? Maybe we decide that like the disclosure doesn't have to be as transparent or as vigorous, right? There's all kinds of ways it might end up, but now is the time to figure that out because we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they use the lack of transparency to their advantage. It's like when we talk about like journalism, their journalism and their creators are so in sync. Their whole ecosphere is so in sync that they all know what each other's doing at all times. They all know what they should report on, what they shouldn't report on. It's so tight knit that even Fox News didn't even say anything about the Epstein, meeting outside the White House yesterday. And I think like on the left, we're always over analyzing and picking every single thing apart and trying to separate everything and not becoming one unified force against Republicans. That it's just like hindering us.
One thing I think
we're not wanting to
not be true is that like the dark money, billionaire or whatever funding Chorus through the 1630 fund, you assume he's on your side. And it's not just left versus right, but there are all sorts of super rich people who have their own interests and maybe funding content creators for purposes that, are not aligned with you. So you can't just assume that because it's a left-wing thing, it's on your side, or like that everyone.
Are you saying that the 1630 fund like also funds some Republicans?
I don't know if they do or not.
If they did, I don't give a fuck. Like as long as if a portion of their money happens to the right, and then happens to the left.
What I'm saying is the person, I don't know all of the 1630 funders. One of them I think is Omidyar, an eBay billionaire. And if he has some goal that doesn't align with you, and he is funding content creators to pursue that goal, it's not the case that you and Omidyar or you and insert billionaire here are necessarily on the same side. And so like it goes back to what I was saying earlier.
I'll take that money and go work on my own side. Like that's what, like I don't like. Okay, for example, if someone offered me $1 million to fund me, and my whole entire goal was to like build a ecosphere against the right. Okay, and then on the same day they went and funded something that I don't stand against, I'd still take that money and be like, okay, thanks, bye. I'm going to build something that hopefully shuts down the other side of what you're funding.
You might, and that's, good for you. But other people might take the money and continue to work in the interest of the secret billionaire paying them. And that might not be in the interest of the public. And like, going back to disclosing, when you're not disclosing what you're secretly doing, that gets to be a problem. Money is going to influence what you talk about. If you're getting paid $8,000 a month as like a relatively small content creator or something, that's going to influence you a lot.
Mercedes, if your value regarding transparency is just the absolute bare legal minimum, that speaks volumes to us, to independents, to the people of America about where your priorities are. Now, I got a hypothetical for you. Okay, I mean, you can answer it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, because I've been approached by different groups, and I've been approached by, what are they called? Those damn talent agencies and shit. And I never join them because I'm like, no, I say a lot of problematic shit. Like, I already know. Like, I have to be able to say whatever the fuck I want. And I know that there's these groups that might, like, for example, I would never fit in Chorus. I would never fit in, I think there was another one, like, Trending Up or whatever. Like, these are hyper polished people, and I'm over here dropping, whatever the fuck I want to say. And as a result, like, I won't take their money because I just don't, like, I guess it doesn't, I get what you guys are saying, but I'm in like desperate times calls for desperate measures moment. So if a bunch of, like, what are they called? Like these bureaucratic democratic content creators that are hyper polished and, I don't know, like establishment coded or whatever, if they want to start their own organization, and if they all agree with one another and they are pushing values that agree with my side to the degree that they do, and I think that the people in Chorus generally do, then I don't give a damn. But like, okay, for example, if they built up like this liberal org and then dark money started funding it and all of a sudden they started shilling with conservatives, then yeah, like, release whatever article you want against it and I'd be for the article. I'm just generally not for the article because I think it's just causing division.
I mean, there's a real condescending and snobbish core in the liberal establishment. And I think a lot of the derision of the left and independents for questioning this and going, hey, that's interesting, why don't we talk about this a little bit, was one, an opportunity for liberals to talk about information disclosure, Citizens United, and the flows of money through our system and whether or not it's good, bad, and where your sort of values lie. Now, Mercedes, if I was to make a black box, you cannot see in, you cannot see out, and inside is the creepiest uncle you've ever met, 50 years old, warts all over him, you don't want his kids near him, and then I say, all right, we're going to put a whole bunch of kids, 50 kids, 12 to 15-year-olds in there. Do you feel comfortable with that?
With them in that box with the creepy uncle?
Yeah, I mean, nothing might happen. They might come out just fine, but you don't know.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be fine with kids around creepy uncles, but I'm just not seeing how that relates to taking money and then like spreading liberal ideology.
Because you might not necessarily have evidence of wrongdoing against "quote unquote" victims, right?
I mean, you just gave me some evidence. You said he's creepy, and he's like, I take that creepy and I'd be like, okay, that's probably some evidence that he's got nefarious intentions.
I mean, that sort of aligns with when I was asking you.
Yeah, like, I know what's in the box. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me what is in the box, so I'm not, like, I'm aware of what's in the box, that it's a creepy man.
Yeah, but he's been on his good behavior recently.
See, you just said he's on his good behavior recently, that there's pretense there that his previous behavior probably wasn't so good. I don't know. You got to give me a different analogy.
I mean, but you agree. You used to be a conservative. You completely agree that the Democrats' behavior wasn't that great. It was condescending, it's snobbish, and I'm actually glad that you're here in the party to change it for the better. But you just need to defend your ideas.
I don't think Democrats are mean enough. Like, I think I guess that's a loaded question for me, but I think that Democrats, I just don't think they're playing dirty enough. Like, I think they sit there and watch conservatives like stomp all over them all day long in every way, when it comes like legislatively, when it comes to how they react to the things that Donald Trump does. I don't know. I think in every single aspect. We let ourselves get stomped on. And then when we let like things like this happen, like the Taylor Lorenz shit come out, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of people who are choosing to unfollow or choosing to step away from supporting liberal media when we're like this comparatively to conservatives who are like this in the media sphere. So I just think it's counterproductive.
I think
I was wondering what you
Yeah, go
said earlier when you were saying that you would have preferred to see transparency and people can say that they were getting paid by Chorus and that would be fine for you. Now, Taylor, when she was presented with the fact that some people had disclosed before the article, she went on to say, well, that's still not good enough because no one disclosed that they were paid by dark money from 1630. So she wasn't satisfied with them saying they work with Chorus. She was wanting them to say, we're funded by Chorus, who gets money from 1630, which is dark money. Do you agree with that or no?
I hadn't heard that, but I'm just going to go on what you just said. I guess I disagree with that, right? Like, I don't know if you have to like paint out the whole like funding structure. That like, hey, I'm working with this organization, Chorus, you know, they're paying me, right? And then
You should be able to identify where the
fine. Like,
conflict
if
of
the money
interest
is
is at.
coming from, yeah, there could be an argument, right? Like, if it turned out like a chorus is like a front group, right? And it's like a it's a shell corporation or something, meaning to hide that, oh, actually, you know, you're working for like the Nazi Party of America or something. I don't know. I could see maybe some sort of argument there, but at least for now, I think just disclosing Chorus will be fine.
Wait, but if it turned out that the Nazi Party of America was funding 1630, which was funding Chorus, why would that affect Chorus?
Mhm.
We've been talking about incentive structure this entire time.
Yeah, I know, but that's
You
why I'm wanting you
thinking
to elaborate on you just saying, like, we don't know if the conflict of interest is. I want you to illustrate where it might be. If those guys don't say if it's people that got funding from 1630 through Chorus were actually getting funded by a bunch of nefarious actors, why would it matter when you can clearly see what these organizations are doing and what they're promoting? Like Planned Parenthood is funded, is a 501c4, right? It's dark money. Yeah?
Sorry,
We agree?
I don't. No,
I'll simplify
I
it.
have
Okay,
no
I'll just
idea.
simplify
I
it.
have no idea
We know
about
that, okay,
what
Planned
Planned
Parenthood is dark
funding
money
is.
because it's a 501c4. They don't have to disclose who funds them, okay? If we found
Right,
out tomorrow
okay.
that 60% of Planned Parenthood's funding comes from pro-lifers, like, okay, they're wasting their money, right?
Um, I guess. But hold on. Let's go back to Chorus. So like I'm still a little confused as to what your objection is here. So I said, I mean, as far as I know, I think it's fine. As far because I haven't heard this comment, it's fine if they just say Chorus. Like I'm powered by Chorus, by that organization, and then you disagree with that. You think
No,
there should be more? Okay,
no, I'm going.
then
That's why I'm asking, because it seems like between you. So you seem like you're okay with them just saying Chorus, although QT earlier you were saying there's still a further issue with the dark money of 1630. So I'm trying to figure out, like,
Yeah, I mean, I said before that I was okay with them saying Chorus. I don't think people necessarily know, what the 1630 fund is unless some event like this comes up. I assume there's some record where you could figure out that the 1630 fund funds Chorus. Like that
Does
must
Planned
be online
Parenthood
somewhere.
fund influencers? Is that a thing? Does Planned Parenthood fund influencers?
No, that wasn't.
Prime, are you
That
funded
wasn't
by?
the point.
I don't
No?
think
That was not the point. No.
But yeah, I guess I think it's fine if you disclose that you're connected to Chorus, or basically like that you're being paid. I think Prime made a
You
good
should.
like it's not just enough to say I'm connected to Chorus, but you have to signal that you're actually being paid. I think.
okay. So just to be clear,
And
do we
let me
agree
do-
that that's a bad faith objection from Taylor Lorenz for saying
Just to
they
be
should actually
clear,
disclose?
you're fine with the
1630?
I mean,
No, I
I
don't think it's a bad faith. No,
Yeah,
not
I
at
don't
all.
No?
speak to
It's not
Taylor
bad faith.
Lorenz.
For saying
Ask for
she's saying they should have disclosed they were connected to 1630 as well.
to ask for more transparency is not bad faith, right? Like I think that might be a bit overboard, but it's like fine to say, oh, actually, because it's at least the creators know where the money is coming from, right? Maybe they should say, yes, it's coming from this organization, right? Because we know it's coming from that organization, right? Like Chorus is a subsection. There's a word for that. Subsection of of this large organization, right? And so asking for that greater step of transparency, there's no way I would say that's bad faith. I just thought like, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. Just saying chorus. If there's a clear connection between the two.
Yeah, I don't think you can ask us to defend, the good or bad faithness of something Taylor Lorenz said. She would have to defend or explain her own statements. I think it's sufficient to say, we're funded by Chorus or Chorus pays us money.
Well, I mean, he's not
Well,
asking you to defend it, but he is asking you to take a
article,
stance on it. Like part of it is he's just saying, like,
That's
if
all
you're
I'm
not,
saying.
if
I
you're
just
saying
to
you
make
don't,
sure.
Yeah,
Right.
so I have taken a stance on it. I can't say whether Taylor Lorenz's comments, which weren't in the article, whether those comments are made in good or bad faith.
What do we think
This
about her
discussion
comparing?
is about
What do we think about her
bare
comparing
minimum
this
of
to Tenet
disclosure,
Media?
whether or not you're just going to go what meets the law, or you're going to go above and beyond and be an exemplar for the people of America to show that, hey, we do value transparency, we do value honesty, we want to do right by you. And unfortunately, it seems like Bryan Tyler Cohen dropped the bag, and what we're doing in response is criticizing everybody who is looking at Taylor Lorenz's article.
I think you keep
And
saying
none of the
value
liberal commentators
transparency.
are
I
pushing
think
back.
everybody here would say
What
that
do
they
we think
value
of Taylor comparing this
transparency.
to Tenet Media? What do we think about
I'm sorry,
Taylor
Tom, can you
Lorenz
repeat that?
comparing this to comparing Chorus to Tenet Media in her article and in her video?
Crazy.
Yeah, I think Tenet Media is like a way more extreme form of this kind of thing. So like if Tenet Media is a 10, maybe this is a 1. It's Tenet Media is much worse. It's foreign money.
It doesn't matter what it is,
much
though.
more
No, it doesn't matter if it's
Foreign
worse or
influence
not, right?
operation
Like,
on American politics.
but it
Well, that's
doesn't
the point
matter.
I'm trying to
Matters
get
a
at.
lot
The point I'm trying to
more.
get at is that this is a
I agree.
story
I
that
think it matters a ton.
that's the point I'm trying to get at. The point I'm trying to get at is that compared to Tenet being a 10, this is like probably less than like 0.1 or
No,
something, or
F
compared to
that.
Tenet
No,
Media.
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is. We can make that assessment afterwards. We can
Well,
make
it
that
does
assessment
matter
afterwards.
The
because
difference
we're
is that
talking about-
Mercedes is actually helping us pay for the B2 fleet. You think those things pay for themselves?
What?
So like it doesn't matter if Tenet is like quote unquote nefarious and acting against the wishes of the American government or the fuck, right? None of that matters. From the creator's perspective and the creator's relationship to the audience, you should disclose it. So Tim Pool should have disclosed. Lauren Southern, another one in Tenet, should have disclosed. And once you disclose, then we can make that assessment, right? We can have people, rather than having to dig up these shadowy links, right, and try to figure out from there. People can just like make an assessment. Oh, what is this Tenet thing, right? Let me go look it up, right? Let me dig into this. Does this make sense for me? Then we can have a discussion about that. All that happens first with disclosure.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
So if we've moved on from people defending the article, because it seems that if all your position is that they should have disclosed,
You're the
what
only
was
one
reported,
attacking
getting
the
money from
article.
Chorus.
We're all ambivalent
Well,
to it.
Well, no,
We all
the
know
topic
it
was
for what
pretty
it is.
clear that it
And
was
we all
on the
agree that
Wired.
the response is
No,
overwhelming.
the topic was pretty clear that it was on the Wired
attacking
article.
What?
Taylor Lorenz for the article. You
I'm
kept
sorry,
on
Tom,
talking about
can
liberals attacking Taylor Lorenz for the article, but now you're indifferent to it. What are you talking about? Yes, the article is
you're
going
talking over Tom.
way beyond. It's going way beyond just saying, yeah, we like this that's happening, but they should just do better and disclose big fucking deal. That's like a 2-second story argument done. That's not what's being claimed though. And that's why it's not a surprise that the people who have been taking this article, the people on the left who you think are being unfairly attacked, are people who took this article and took all the connotations and did exactly what Taylor was trying to do and did all the inferring and saying that it was DNC telling them what to say, telling them to toe the line, making sure they don't say things about Gaza, comparing it to Tenet Media. Like they're all reading it in the way that it's fairly intended. It's intended to be a hit piece that goes way
Do their
beyond
audiences
just
not have
saying
critical
it would be
capacity of
better
their
if you
own?
disclose.
Do their audiences not have critical capacity of their own? Because Prime and I agree, disclosure means that you believe people have the ability to search up information for themselves and discern their own opinions, rather than just what is getting delivered to them. Because I don't think every single MAGA person believes everything Donald Trump says. I think they full abashedly say, hey, this guy's kind of full of it, but he's my president.
I think
What? Are you
creators generally
totally-
influence their audiences, and it's journalists. It would behoove journalists to have some kind of like control over people in the sense of shaping a narrative or conveying what they're trying to say, especially with people who are in prime to agree with them. The worst disinformation about this article is coming from people who support Taylor's article, not people who oppose it. So,
Maybe. Do you think there's anything in the article that's wrong?
not necessarily, no. Like,
Okay, and do you think it would be
I mean, we
better
can.
if do you think it would be better if the course creators had disclosed?
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you why these two questions are not really summing up the whole story for me, or?
Yeah, but you don't really disclose. You don't
Okay,
really disclose.
go ahead. I think like that roughly.
Yeah. So
is,
the first question you asked is, go ahead. Yeah.
I guess the third point I have to just close my own point of view is like, do you have a problem with the creators who are saying basically that it's the Wired article is a lie or inaccurate or something?
Yeah, they're fine to say that. Yeah, because
Okay.
for example,
So if it
I'll give you a simple example. If I could watch a Ben Shapiro video of him telling you the entire history of like Israel, and he can tell you like a million different things that are all 100% factually true. But obviously, it's all going to be instances of Palestinians doing bad things to Israelis. It's not giving you an accurate framing of the story, even if every single individual fact in that story is true. And that's possible. You can do that on both sides of the conflict very easily. You can do that with any conflict or any issue on Earth. You can use a whole collection of facts to present a lie. With Taylor Lorenz, for example, when I hear, even at the beginning, paid to push the party line, I mean, like, that is kind of untrue, isn't it? Because the creators had a diversity of opinion towards the Democratic Party. And when you look at the rest of it, she can accurately describe the contract. She can say, yes, the contract did say everything about this agreement is confidential, like my PV contract says, but that's not necessarily telling you the full story to a reader who's not familiar with the way these NDAs and contracts work.
So I think like one, on your point about Ben Shapiro telling you an incomplete history of Israel and Palestine, I would say the way to respond to that is not by saying this is fake news, it's riddled with inaccuracies, whatever, or maybe you could include that too, but you should also make the substantive corrections. You should say, here's what he's missing, here's why what he's missing matters. And I haven't seen that from the chorus content creators. They've just been saying it's a lie. And
well, so again, what can they do though? So say when the creators,
the true followers of Bryan Tyler Cohen are sticking around. The true followers of Bryan Taylor Cohen aren't bringing these sorts of critiques up.
Let me finish. The other thing you said is that in the subtitle it says they're being paid to push the party line. I think that's probably roughly accurate. Like I mentioned before, at the DNC chorus town hall or panel or whatever it was, DNC chorus chair meeting, Bryan Taylor Cohen describes what chorus is. And he says it's building the infrastructure to create the next generation of democratic content creators. So,
but that's not pushing the party line. Again,
well,
that's not pushing the party line. There isn't even a party line.
Splitting hairs about what pushing the party line is. Like I think you're being paid generally to produce pro-democratic content. I assume.
I just okay, yeah, but you understand that if you riddle the article with the strongest connotations like that, again, if you keep saying, if you open with to push the party line, and then you constantly refer to dark money, and you keep on literally taking things out of the contract, even if none of them are being practiced in that way, and no one's even said they're being practiced in that way, and you keep on going that way, then yes, you are building up. You're constantly using the right choice of words to build up a story that's not true, and that's why it's no surprise that the people who support Taylor's article in the online last space have been the ones who are most inaccurately representing it. Yeah, that's why it's very clever, but yeah, it's ultimately dishonest. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you can say it's dishonest if the underlying facts are right and nobody presents an alternate view.
Well, they did present alternate views.
They didn't present it with any evidence. People claimed it was inaccurate, but nobody's saying here's more language from the contract that explains why Taylor is taking it out of context.
I told you there might not be alternate language in the contract that changes it. That's what I said, because it's not just about literally interpreting the contract in some kind of vacuum. It's about the way that standard NDAs work.
So yeah, you haven't
you're
seen the contract, so you don't know if it's standard or not. You're just assuming there's some possibility where maybe it's okay. I agree that, okay, it's possible what you're saying is true. It's possible it's not true. But we haven't identified any factual error in the article. People are claiming there are factual errors in the article. And what I'm saying is you shouldn't claim there are factual errors in the article unless you can present one and explain what it is.
Well, I would say pushing the party line is a clear factual error, but I guess you're okay to interpret those terms and whatever. If you think that just means get Democrats to win, that's a very different claim to push the party line.
you're saying pro-democratic messaging. That's literally how it's described by Bryan Tyler Cohen.
What do you think, if you want the Democrats to win by changing their message, that's pro-Democrat, but it's not pushing the party line. I don't know why you're being so obtuse.
Okay,
how can you think these are the same thing?
You get a daily 15-minute messaging briefing, twice monthly, news event, whatever, help connecting you to lawmakers. They want you to publish pro-democratic content to a wider audience and so on. Like, obviously they're trying to promote the party. And you're saying like, well, I don't know if it's pushing a line. Like, I don't know what the point is, and like trying to split hairs over that. I don't know how we would resolve that. I think it's basically trying to say.
So when you're in common parlance, even in common again, if you do an interview with like Zohran Mamdani, would you use that as pushing the party line?
Well, just to be clear, she did say nominee. She did a video on this on
you're
YouTube.
Being intentionally retarded. Okay, I get it.
Okay. Hold on. She did. Fine. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. She did a video on this as well, where she talked about her article. She went over it in a lot of detail and even read straight from it. And a lot of what she was talking about was like gatekeeping people who are farther left out of like pro-Democrat movements. And so it seems as though she is like talking about like hardcore DNC establishment sort of things when she says towing the party line from the videos that she's put out on this as well. I don't remember if that was mentioned in the article, the gatekeeping part or not. So I don't
think she did talk about gatekeeping article.
You don't think she did?
Yeah. Right. She had a follow-up piece. Where I think she talked about more about what you're referring to, like a video, a video piece on her YouTube page. But in the article, she doesn't really talk about gatekeeping.
So would we infer what her video to be like adding to this, or is the video like a separate thing?
It's a companion piece. It goes over aspects of the article and adds more of her commentary, and I think a bit more of like her perspective as to what happened immediately after the article. Like, it was published very soon after, so it doesn't have like a huge like gap in between where she can discuss too much. But like the immediate reaction, I think she discusses within that. It's worth taking a look. I think.
I feel like this was such an easy layup for critical thinking liberals to say, hey, yeah, there's a real problem with money in our elections. We should get rid of it. But these are dire times. I completely agree with Mercedes. We should be using these same instruments to achieve better outcomes for the American people.
So I think from what I took away from it is that she is saying that there's that like towing the party line is a way of like gatekeeping leftists somewhat out of the movement, and that it is a pro-establishment.
I mean, I would agree with that point, but I also think that, that I think they're allowed to police their own borders for this organization, right? As to who can be involved, who can't. I mean, in providing the funding, it makes sense to decide from there, right? And others I would not be acceptable for this, right? I spend a lot of time shitting on the DNC, shitting on corporate Democrats, shitting on the leadership. So they would not accept me. That being said, I like the program as it stands, except for what seems to be a lack of transparency. Other than that, yeah, we should have that level of infrastructure. I've literally been calling for programs like
we should take the media space
to be created.
Well, I think that's what LonerBox is disagreeing with, though. I think LonerBox, you were disagreeing that they were.
He doesn't think we should take the media space?
No, that they were actually like towing the party line, and that they actually were like a pro-establishment group, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they match values, right?
Sorry, I'm asking LonerBox.
I'm asking what they were being paid to do. But again, so it seems, and now I don't know if this is like the same thing when Taylor had her conversation with Destiny yesterday, and the way everything was just so softened compared to the tone of the article. But yeah, obviously, I think it's better. Yeah, they should disclose. Yeah, I think that's a clear rule. There should be they should change the law for it as well. It should be right wingers and left wingers. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But if that were the argument, we like what they're doing, but they should be more transparent. This would not be a Wired news story. It wouldn't be kicking like obviously the article was sexed up because that initial problem is not like
no,
that's not
it wasn't. Like you keep like implying there's some sort of awful tone to his article. The article was pretty straight shooting. It had
It's
like quotes
seductive and
from like
lying and
experts,
lure to it.
not just like from people who were rejected or who didn't sign the contract, but also quotes from like professors who were studying this space, right? Studying the online influencer space and saying, hey, yeah, I have questions about this. And we should be careful of using the exact same tactics that the conservatives are using, right? Yeah, there wasn't even like widespread combination. We said like, well, we should proceed with caution here. Not that we shouldn't be doing
We should
this,
be worried.
at all. It should be worried.
Was there one? Okay, that's good.
I
Was
also
there
think
one positive thing that you
it's
said about Chorus in the
interesting.
article?
It's interesting how say creators are getting $8,000 a month. That's probably to influence what they talk about. You say, well, we can't know for sure. We can't prove that. But when it's like you decide how you want to interpret the language of the Wired article, now suddenly you know definitely why they wrote it which way.
Well, all I have to do is look at how the people who well, one, as I know how to read, and the second thing is
look at the text and you know why it was written.
I'm literally talking to someone who thinks that Mamdani pushes the party line because he's in the Democratic Party. Fuck off, man. Come on.
He is the Democratic nominee, is what I said. But like when I say $8,000,
I asked you if he's supporting the party line. Why are you doing that? Why are you trying to abuse me? Why are you trying to change the subject? When I said when you receive $8,000 a month, that probably influences your content. It's, well, we can't know that for sure. You can't prove it. But now you know why the article was written or why certain language has changed or why certain language is
changed. The liberals are really sensitive to critique. They hear this stuff and they just hear that, oh, I'm a bad person. Instead of, hey, this is actually a problem in the United States. This is a good opportunity to talk about these problems in the United States. Instead, you're busy railing and trying to gatekeep leftists out. You guys still have 2.5 years to shoo independence away. Now
I'm sorry,
is the time
Dispell,
to gain our trust.
You've said numerous times, like you've used that people aren't disclosing numerous times as an accusation. And now you're saying, oh, you hear that you didn't disclose and you're acting like this makes you a bad person. But that has been your implication this entire panel.
I think it shows a different virtue. I think it shows where your values are, right? If your value is, I'm just going to do what the bare minimum the law says, instead of having a value of radical transparency and being proud to wear the badge, I am proud to be associated with an organization that is pro-abortion and pro-gay marriage, then I don't know. What are we doing here? Oh, Mercedes, you're muted.
I said we're winning. And then I said, I'm sorry, continue.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so like something positive talked about. Well, Taylor like pointed out how the 1630 fund has a track record of supporting liberal lefty causes, right? She goes through its history of fundraising, but also where it's spending that, like on the abortion rights proposals that were making their way through legislators, right? On helping to fight back against the Republican state of candidates. It seems like 1630 has been in this space. It's like brand new, like something that was just created this year, right? And then created Chorus and then started doing any other stuff. No, it's actually been in this space for a while. It's establishing itself. And yeah, I mean,
so her positive claim was about 1630 rather than Chorus, right? Yeah. So we're talking about positive claims for 1630
that's funding.
Yeah, because
where the money's coming from.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying. Okay, I'm just clarifying. You're saying 1630, and she just described the fact that they fund like climate issues or abortion or everything else. Okay, this is the same group that she constantly refers to as a powerful dark money group, right?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is that not true?
That's not. We're asking if she is giving them positive connotations or not.
Yeah.
If that's your only example, that's okay. So
neutral
in other words, she's saying powerful dark money is neutral. Are you fucking serious, dude?
A liberal dark. It says So I'm like literally just going through the Control F, right? Now, Democrats hope that the Secretive Chorus Creator Incubator Program, funded by a powerful liberal dark money group called the 1630 Fund, might tip the scales. The program kicked off last month and blah, 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 right? So it says, what this says, a powerful liberal dark money group. Now, is it a dark money group? It is, right? So it's like it's perfectly reasonable to say that. Is it a powerful?
Has anyone ever done like close reading or
raising?
comprehension in
Absolutely.
English class in school?
Dark
Like, what the fuck's going
money-
on here, man?
Sorry, hon.
I'm being
Is it a dark?
gaslit.
Does it count as a dark money group or not?
Well,
Does it count as a dark money
can we
group or
have
not?
somebody
It does?
define
That's
dark
a
money?
correct
Because
description?
the dark money, I've heard like 5 different people give 5 different definitions of it.
Taylor Lorenz yesterday described it as just like you don't know where the money it comes from in totality, so it's in the dark. But like
All
to me,
501c4s.
yes,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what Destiny was
It's-
essentially. That's what Destiny was essentially making the point of yesterday. But it's like at the end of the day, like it's just so wild to me that like we can just say we're like, yeah, it's a dark money, and this is what the definition is. But like, there's a difference between okay, we understand what it is definitionally, and like the impact it has on the readers and how they're going to take it and run with it. And for me, it's just like when people are like,
But-
ooh, dark
yeah.
money.
It's not her job to like run a
It's not
PR
her job,
program
it's what
for
happens.
this.
That's
Great.
why I was
Yeah,
asking
it
you.
says
If you said it's a positive
she was
report.
actually described this. It's a dark money group. It is a dark money group. And she described what it did. Right. So the reader
It's
can
purely
look
factional,
at
factional
Okay, Brian.
reporting. Sorry, factional.
Okay, so if
factual
I do a
reporting.
piece,
And the problem
if I do a
with dark
piece,
money
hold
is
on,
not
okay,
that it's
yeah.
evil. The problem is this incentive structures behind it, and the connotation that you're balking against is not dark money, and the dark, carries opaque, evil, dark sort of connotations. The connotation doesn't change just because it's Democrat dark money. It's still dark money, and there's a conversation to be had about dark money. Everyone here on this panel is fine with the Democrats using the dark money to establish a media presence. We just want you to value transparency.
Okay, let's say I do 2 articles
And at least
on
Mercedes is honest
1630.
about her.
Let's say I do 2 pieces on 1630, and they're worded exactly the same, except in one, every time I refer to them, I call them dark money, and the second one, I call them a social welfare organization, because that's actually like what a 501c4 is, right? Social welfare. Do these 2 articles have the exact same impression?
Do you think the big beautiful bill was big, beautiful, or a bill?
Well, exactly.
Yes, because
Exactly.
someone describing
No,
themselves
because
versus someone describing someone they're writing an article about, you
they
fucking retard.
are
Yeah, sorry,
the-
any serious people want to answer that question?
Well, that's
Thank
the
you.
that's the
They
entire
are
point is
different
calling it the big
because-
beautiful bill is supposed to give it a positive connotation. They're trying to build it up and make it sound a lot better. Just as calling it dark money
Are
is
we acting
supposed
like
to
I
have a
think the
negative
Republicans are going to
connotation.
make it sound
Matter.
bad when they call it that, right? No, he thinks
They
Republicans
are-
are shit on them.
agree.
And it is big. It
They
is
do
beautiful.
have different connotations, and the
Yeah,
dark
okay.
money article that you described there would be more accurate because it gives a better understanding of like the structure of this organization.
Something that's flawed.
Social welfare fund.
Yeah,
But do you think
I don't know.
they purposely use the
Where are the
term dark
goalposts
money
going? I
like
was asking you.
gay?
Yeah, she
I was
definitely
asking you if she
purposely.
said
Yeah,
anything.
she definitely used the term dark money on purpose, and it does create a different connotation. But as a journalist,
Thank
she's
you.
trying to tell some story, and she has a point of
This
view.
is your win,
And-
LonerBox?
Well, one second. She's trying to tell a story, and she has a point of view. She's trying to communicate her point of view to the audience. You may disagree with her point of view, and you may think like she's representing things poorly or she's leaving things out. It would be completely appropriate for you to explain what she's leaving out and how she's representing things poorly, and why it's actually better to refer to this as a social activist, whatever you're saying was the other name for it. Like, that's totally fine. But what I've said before is like, it's fine to criticize the article on the merits. What I hear people doing is just saying it's filled with errors and lies and it's wrong and so
I
on.
think these people are done. I feel like these creators are so done, like constantly being attacked by leftists, that at this point, the more strategic narrative is to position yourself in a place where, oh, anything that a leftist says about me is a lie at this point because I could actually do something that wasn't wrong and they're going to lie about me anyways. So let's just put myself in a position where everything that they say is a lie as my ultimate defense because the attacks are nonstop regardless. It's like I would, if I were in that position, and I think, I mean, I've been on their, I've kind of watched their position. I've been witch hunted by these people. I've been doxxed by these people. I think I'm pretty sure maybe all of us have. I don't know, but like, it gets to a point where like and I know this is not maybe it wasn't Taylor Lorenz's intent. I think 100% was their intent, but you're activating like this mob of people who have the worst intentions on the planet. So I think formulating your article in a way that does not cause these people to raise their pitchforks is important. And I think she didn't do that. And I think she knew that how she worded this would cause these people to mob up.
Can we
And
stop pretending that this is a liberal versus leftist like a battle that's happening? That's absolutely not the case, right? So again, my first exposure to this was the David Pakman response video, and I looked through that, right? And it wasn't just a bunch of lefties crowing. Well, actually, to be fair, I can't like know the exact political orientation of commentators, right? But it seemed people from his audience, right, who had been there a while and who were disappointed in him, and maybe they were wrong to be disappointed in him again, because I'm actually more okay with the funding of this group. But it seemed like from my observations, there are people from all sides of the political spectrum. A liberal can also have a problem with this funding structure. A liberal can also have a problem with the lack of disclosure. Right? Liberals have those thoughts in their heads too. It's not a leftist. Sorry, what?
Aren't you a country girl? Didn't you do cattle ranching? I don't know. You look
yeah,
like
I mean,
somebody
I just haven't met any liberals that have a problem with this. Most of them just think that the leftists need to shut up about it and stop like witch hunting or
okay. Well, your friends don't have a problem, but that's great. But like whatever.
Trying to build up here.
I think the thing you were saying earlier, Mercedes, is basically right, that people have adopted the position of just like, if you're criticizing me, you're lying, it's a fake news thing. I think that's like a Donald Trump style defense. When the media criticizes him, it's fake news, the journalist is bad. I think that's what people are doing in response to Taylor Lorenz. You may disagree with her point of view, and you may think, like, I agree, she is trying to make it seem bad because she thinks it is bad. And you may disagree with that, but the facts are what they are. And unless you have other facts or another way to like counter what she's saying, explain why she's saying is misrepresenting it, that's what you should do. You shouldn't just say it's a lie, it's a troll.
Yeah. Not also
half the facts that are being the things that we're calling facts, like even earlier, like no one has confirmation as to whether these people's messaging has been purposely skewed or that their content has significantly changed as a result of joining chorus. Yet we're saying the facts are that the messaging could be being changed. Like it's just like we're saying things are facts when we don't have any evidence that they are facts in the first place. So I think it's fair for them to just.
The things I'm saying that are facts are the factual claims in the article. So like the claims about what is or isn't. Yeah, the claims about what is or isn't in the contract. That's a fact. If you had the contract, you could look at it and see if it says what Taylor Lorenz says it says.
But earlier you were saying that their messaging.
When we talk about the contract, are you just ignoring me every time I point out to you that just because something has a boilerplate statement about disclosure on a contract, that does not necessarily mean it's going to be used in that way? And when you have every chorus creator
saying,
saying,
you make your points without personal insults. Go ahead.
What did I say that there was a personal insult?
You called me retarded earlier. You're saying, are you ignoring me every time? Like, spare me the dramatics, make your point without resorting to personal insults.
It's not a personal insult to say, are you ignoring me, to just point out that you're ignoring me. But in any case, I'm just pointing out that every time you mention this, with the contract might not necessarily, if you're saying that the contract says you can't disclose anything about chorus, well, it might actually say that. So if they show it, but then they're like, well, the contract said that, even though in practice it seems like people were allowed to say things about chorus. When you have creators who are not just saying fake news lies, some of these creators are saying that their experience in chorus is not the same experience as what is denoted in the article. There might not be physical proof of that, though, apart from like Ali showing proof of her emailing Democrat politicians. But
it may be the case that the factual claims are true, is what you're saying. It may be the case that the factual claims are true. I think they probably are true, like I said at the beginning of this discussion. So,
okay, do you acknowledge that just because a contract says and has a standard boilerplate NDA that sounds like you can't say anything about the company, do you think that necessarily means they can't say anything about the company?
I've never disputed that. What I said earlier on this similar point was that the company is going to enforce the provisions of the contract to their interests. And the fact that they don't always enforce the provisions of the contract doesn't mean that they won't in the future if it's ever in their interest to do so.
Then that's a critique that you can lay at almost every organization on earth that hires people in this way, right? You could do this to PV, you could do this to like anything I've seen in the entertainment industry, you could do this for, right?
Obviously don't have a problem with contracts in general. What I'm saying is the facts are accurate in the article. They were taking money. The money, I think, was intended to influence their political content, and they didn't disclose it. And their criticism, instead of explaining why what they did is okay or how the article is inaccurate, their criticism is just to say the article is fake news, Taylor Lorenz is an internet troll, and so on. And I think that's bad. I think that's wrong.
That's not what they
LonerBox,
said,
you
though.
could
They also-
probably win in a shit-talking competition, but I think the rest of us, we do have hearts that burn true with a fire, and we believe in something, and we want to get it done. That's why I appreciate Mercedes quite a bit. You personify exactly the liberal that I think she was disgusted by. Feckless, condescending, and snobbish.
And it
Yeah.
is what they're.
Yeah,
You learn that
Bryan
from
Taylor,
I'm sorry,
Bryan
I
Taylor
just-
Cohen said Taylor Lorenz was an internet troll. David Pacman said it was riddled with errors. Ali O'Brien said like the claims were categorically false. So they are saying the things I said they were saying. I think
Yeah, but
the
again,
factual claims are true.
they are correct
Nobody's
in saying that they
disputing it.
weren't pushing the party line. They are correct in that. But obviously, you think party line just means you want the Democrats to win. I don't even. That's how party line is used in common parlance or in literature and anything else. Okay, yeah.
In the position of the party, that is what party line means. But like, I think it's fine. It's not a fact to say whether party line is the right word to use or not. That's not a factual claim. That's like a stylistic or a word choice claim. What I'm saying is the factual claims of the article are true. And you may think like, oh, she should have used a different word rather than party line. Okay, you can have that debate. You can make that argument. Maybe a
No,
different
it's
wording.
potentially misleading word choice is what it is.
Well, they are being paid. They're associated with the Democratic Party. They're trying to promote Democratic influence.
I can't do this.
You
You
know what
think
the
you're
attention
surprised that I'm
economy is?
insulting you when you're pretending to be
LonerBox.
confused about the difference between supporting a party, wanting
I
them to
think
win, and
the difference
being
is
paid
all of
to
us
push the
understand what
party
the attention
line.
economy is.
So,
Mercedes
if
is
you're-
a short-form content creator. We all understand what the attention
Hold
economy
on,
is.
Dispel.
You're the
I don't
one
need you to keep
still trying
talking
to
about
catch up.
Mercedes, bro. And you keep mentioning over and over that like you value letting people know who you get paid by. Literally everybody here has all said they think that's good. They think people should do it more. Everybody has agreed on this. You do just keep repeating
Mercedes
points that nobody
No,
disagrees on.
Mercedes is against disclosure.
No,
And I think that's honest. I think that's cool. And I want to be in discourse
no,
with a liberal
Mercedes
like that.
did not say
'Cause I
she
think
was
we might actually
against
be able to get things
disclosure.
done.
No, Mercedes did not say she was against
Am I-
disclosure.
I'm not
Am I
against
confused?
it, but I don't think if it's so like I'm not against it, but if it's not happening, like in the situation of course, I don't give a fuck. So like Parrot is kind of like, yeah, to say like I don't give a fuck, I mean that's low key the truth.
Okay, but I
Like,
do want to
it's
go
like-
back to
it's-
the.
There's
I do
bigger
want to go.
problems.
I want to go back to because you keep saying QT that like he could make those points or you could have those arguments, but that is the point that like LonerBox is trying to make, is that while this might state a bunch of things factually, it's stating in a way that is misleading, that it is giving connotations and is giving ideas
I
that
get
aren't
to hear
necessary.
What is misleading about it? So, like, if someone creates, a video or says, like, I think it's misleading because X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't, reply to them. I wouldn't say, no, you're wrong. I'd just say, okay, that's what they think about the article. Like, to the extent that LonerBox thinks party line is misleading, he's free to think that. It's a subjective word choice. Maybe it is misleading from how he understands the word party line. I think of party line as meaning like what the party has like officially adopted, or the party itself. So like if you're saying, I support Democrats, I want Democrats to win, I support Democratic policies, to me, it's fair to say like, oh, you're pushing the party line. If you're being paid to do that, I think that's a fair description. If it's just this subjective difference between is party line a good description or not, like I don't really care about that. I think the facts of the article are true. People, the creators that I've seen that I'm complaining about, are just attacking the article, saying it's fake news, saying Taylor Lorenz is an internet troll, and so on. I think it's wrong to do that. They should have disclosed they were being paid. The payments were to influence their content. They should respond substantively. To the extent that LonerBox's responses are substantive, maybe I'm just in an agitated frame of mind. I haven't recognized any substance to his claims. But to the extent that they are substantive, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay, I'll try one question. No one here disputes that I disclosed and spoke about my relationship with PV like all the time, right? When I was there, Prime
It seems
same.
like it was certainly much
Yeah.
less than Prime.
I have no idea whether you did or not, but I don't dispute it.
Yeah.
I have,
Okay,
I have
yeah, okay,
no
so just
idea,
because-
but I don't.
You realize
I don't
that-
think you're dishonest, so I don't think you would. So,
So do you realize that but tomorrow I could write an article with proof and screenshots saying that I was told by Progressive Victory that everything about my agreement with them was confidential. I wasn't allowed to talk about anything. I could say that and
Yeah,
it would
good
be
bit.
factually true. It would be factually true. I can
Okay,
send one of
so
you
then-
DMs if you want to see it right now.
Okay,
But
so if I,
obviously,
yeah, if I,
now my question is, if I said that, if I just said Progressive Victory told me that I couldn't say anything about working with that organization, that's a factually true article. Do you think it's misleading? Yes or no?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm saying
So
about
if,
Taylor's
like,
article. I'm saying she's doing the same thing.
Yeah, suppose I write an article that says Progressive Victory says creators can't disclose, and I show like a screenshot from your contract. And then you say that was a line that was never enforced, or whatever it is that makes it okay for you to have disclosed it. And you point out, here are all the times I disclosed it. I had a Progressive Victory logo on my stream, or whatever you did. Then I would say you have effectively rebutted the article. You've explained what was misleading about it. They were taking a quote out of context, or some quote from the contract that didn't apply. And in practice, you did disclose. I'd say you've effectively rebutted the article. I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen anything like that.
Okay.
Of course.
So when creators like Ali have said that they didn't have to funnel every single interview through Chorus, do we just not take her word for it? Like we took the word of the people?
No, I
the Wired
believe
article?
she didn't do that. I believe she didn't do that. She said, I forgot to, send every interview through Chorus Newsroom or something. I believe her.
And also why the clause is there? Do we disagree with that? That it was there so that they didn't have like double bookings, or so that candidates wouldn't get like, say like they got Bernie Sanders and looking swamped by like
I don't
creators.
know why. I don't know why the clause was there.
Yeah, we don't know why.
No, but we're saying
They have different clauses for different contracts.
We're saying she gave an explanation. Does it not make sense though?
I think that's a very charitable.
Yeah,
I think it's a very charitable explanation. Just like, if I made you sign a contract that said I get to control your bank account, you could give a charitable explanation. You could be like, well, QuickThoughts has my best financial interests in mind. He's going to do a good job, whatever. That would be a charitable explanation. Or you could give a sinister explanation, like I'm going to steal all your money. And likewise, we can give a charitable explanation.
Sinister, an ad homing, a critique, and honestly just abusive responses.
Nothing I said there was sinister or abusive, but in any case, you could go to
been abusing QT.
You could give a literal interpretation of what they say here, which is booking engagements disclose to Chorus Newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda that the contractor arranges through other means. That sounds like the contractor.
Yeah, I think you're doing that thing. I think you're doing that thing you accused the Wired article of. You're reading provision number 2 out of 3. So the first provision says you have to organize interviews with lawmakers through the Chorus Newsroom. Second provision says any interviews that you organize independently you have to loop Chorus in. The third provision says you have to fully cooperate with Chorus on the interview.
That's what I wish you would stop listening, my friend.
Yeah, so that is within
you don't love me enough to finish my sentences. Please stop doing it. You don't love me enough to finish my sentences.
That is within a
This is the purity checking. This is where the purity checking is coming from. It's coming from the establishment.
This is an abusive relationship, okay?
Okay,
this is an abusive relationship, and you stop.
I've got one more sentence.
I'm not interrupting. I wasn't finished. You're interrupting me. I'm not interrupting your interruption.
Okay, I've got one more sentence.
Fuck me.
That is within a contract that says Chorus can demand the correction or revocation of any content at a Chorus organized event. That you also have to organize interviews through Chorus. Go ahead.
You were interrupting my interruption to go in a completely different. You have no idea what I was about to say.
Go ahead and finish.
I was reading point 2 to say an example of a literalist reading would be to say that if you were saying disclose to Chorus Newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to the policy agenda, if you read that literally, it sounds like they're saying everyone you ever talk to, government officials or others, about anything to do with the Chorus policy agenda, which could be quite broad if it's Democrat stuff, that would mean you have to disclose to Chorus if I was working for Chorus, I'd have to disclose to them that I'm talking to you guys now about something that relates to their policy agenda. That would be insane. But obviously, you can interpret a contract in a very literalist way and paint it in bad faith to make it look really fucking dark. Like how?
Yeah, I think I explained that previously. Of course, there could be a charitable explanation or a sinister explanation.
But isn't the idea that like when Taylor puts out her...
Anyone who understands how these contracts work.
Well, isn't the idea that when Taylor puts out her article that like it hasn't been refuted and it hasn't been disproven, but these people are saying, hey, this is what the contract says and this is what it means. And unless somebody refutes this or contradicts it, proves it wrong, that like we would accept this interpretation of it?
Yeah, but the problem is that like what probably happened, and I've got this from like just a few conversations with people who know people in this program. Like I know some people at Chorus. It seems like what they did was the contract probably was written in a fairly like draconian sounding way, not because it seems like, again, no one in Chorus has ever come forward and said it was actually used in this way, but because same reason in Progressive Victory, you're working with content creators as a nonprofit working with people related to politics. And that can open you to a lot of very murky areas where a content creator, again, content creators are kind of erratic. They're kind of mental, okay? They live stream, they put their foot in their mouth, etc. So if someone booked something with a politician and they maybe discussed their relationship with that politician in a way that made it sound like there was some kind of like PAC funding going on or some kind of like money being used. That was also why they said like you can't use your money in a way that would go towards a candidate through Chorus because that would be violating FEC. That's why it probably is true that there are all these interpretations of this contract that are very, very draconian sounding because they're just wanting to be, it's better to be safe
even
than sorry.
that wasn't
And
my
that's
interpretation
again,
because when
a standard thing in boilerplate contracts.
When
it's
I'm reading
not
it,
that unusual.
it's under the section on booking. Like it's literally under booking, and it's talking about using Chorus and the Chorus newsroom for booking and having them book things for you. And so it seems to be saying that if you use them, if you use Chorus to book things, that you have to communicate everything through them. You cannot use them to book something and then do everything else off to the side by yourself. That like once you use them and their newsroom, you have to go through them for literally everything. That's what it seems like because it's literally all under booking. That entire section is only under booking through them.
Yeah, but again, we all agreed earlier that no one who has been through this organization, who has been through this program, has come forward and said, yes, it actually was applied in this way to me. Yes, it actually did. This what if that comes from Taylor's article actually happened. Every creator just seems to be saying, nah, it wasn't quite like that. It's not.
Or that they asked about the contract. Because that's the thing that I would think is that they would ask about the contract. If people had trouble with the contract ahead of time, I would think that they would ask about the contract and say, hey, what does this exactly mean? And that we would have somebody come out and say, yes, I asked about this part. And they said that I cannot do X, Y, and Z without going through them first. We just lost Prime?
Oh, Prime dropped. Yep.
Okay.
But that's why the just falling back on the everything they said was factual to me is not good enough because everything they're saying about the contract could be factual. But when we have no evidence of anyone in Chorus actually having the contract applied to them in that way, that's where the problem is, right? Like it's the difference between a boilerplate contract.
To believe that there's something going wrong inside the black box.
Well, in a way that it sounds like the article is presenting, yes, you actually
we're in
need
an
to
administration that is clamping down on whistleblowers and prosecuting them.
You think Trump is going to prosecute?
Whistleblower?
You think Trump is going to whistle? Do you think Trump is going to? Okay, you're trolling.
He has certainly set up the FEC and FCC in a way that is amicable and lenient towards the regulation of these entities over social media
you're trolling.
platforms.
I understand. Yeah, you think Trump is going to?
I'm sorry. When somebody makes a substantial critique, you cannot just start swearing at them and say you're trolling.
It's not a substantial critique.
The liberals have missed an opportunity to distinguish themselves and their values in light of this situation. Yeah, it's a hit piece. Yeah, it's a little ambivalent. Yeah, it's a little passionate. But this was the liberals' opportunity to say what they believe. I appreciate Mercedes because she's honest. No, absolutely none. You are essentially just, yeah, you know, I do appreciate transparency, but just boilerplate stuff, just bottom of what's legal. That's fine. Transparency is assent, and assent is legitimacy. If the Democrats want to be legitimate in the coming elections, they need to, you know, be on this.
And I guess this whistleblower should come forward because if the contract is being applied in the way that Taylor's article makes it sound like, then it sounds like people are getting pretty fucking abused in that organization. Yeah, it'd be a shame.
I mean, her article does not claim that the contract is being applied like that. The factual claim is that those provisions are in the article, and those provisions may motivate behavior. So,
and what do you think the average reader is going to make of that?
We know what you make of it.
Yeah, I think
chagrin and denounce the left for bringing up these critiques.
Yeah, I need to get going. I'm just.
Shall I ask the question again? Okay.
What do I think the average reader is going to? I don't know what the average reader. I don't know what the average reader thinks. I can
The
only
average
speak for
reader would think this
myself.
is a predatory organization.
Okay, I'm glad
like-
you know what the average reader thinks. I'll consult you next time. I wonder what an average reader would
The
think.
average American
But
reader
what
from a foreign influence agent.
yeah, I need to get going. What I'm just going to leave it with is I think the factual claims were basically true. If it's not representative, I haven't seen anyone explain how or why it's not representative. And I think it's wrong to play the fake news card if you can't actually explain why it's fake news. So
Well, before you go, I didn't know you had to head out. If you want to shout out your channel real quick and let everybody know where to find you.
oh yeah, I apologize for leaving early. I thought it was 2 hours. I see you said 2 to 3, so sorry about that. I mismanaged my own schedule. I apologize. But thank you for having me. I'm on TikTok. My channel is QuickThoughts. So thank you. Have a nice
Awesome.
day.
Appreciate it,
It
man.
was nice meeting you.
Have a you.
Yeah, thank you for
Bye-bye.
coming.
Have a blessed day.
Okay. Well, if we have a little bit more to go, if anybody wanted to ask any questions, you guys can send those through super chats or tips. There's a link pinned at the top of my chat to where you guys can send any questions that you had for the panel before we wrap up. So I guess we did get to the dark money thing because that was going to be my next question. I know that a lot of people made a big deal about Taylor Lorenz having what they called dark money ties as well, and feeling as though, because as I said earlier, from my perspective, this was never the standard, is that you had to disclose these sorts of things. I think it's good too. I've always talked about, like, anytime I got money from people or had any sort of investments in my channel, I've always made sure to talk about those things. But I also never felt like that was a standard. And when you find out that Taylor seems to be holding these people to a standard, a pretty high standard, that they shouldn't even be taking dark money, not just that they should disclose, but that this is already some sort of nefarious group that's putting money in there that they don't know where it comes from. Sorry?
No, they can definitely take it. I think we all agree. They can definitely take it.
Well, I'm saying it doesn't seem as though Taylor feels that way. Like, when she's talking about dark money influences, that definitely, again, seems to say that, like, this is some sort of nefarious purpose. You don't think that's the case?
Didn't they come to the conclusion yesterday that she, I think her, like, divider on that was that she can, well, I guess her first claim was that Omidyar is not funded, or her, whatever she's part of is funded by not the Omidyar network, but the Omidyar family wealth.
Yeah, technically she's somewhat correct on that, but it's so the 1630 project did not fund them, which is what the original claim was from Good Trouble. He was totally incorrect on that. So Good Trouble L, but
yeah, he's always wrong.
Yes, he was totally wrong on that. But she didn't get money from 1630, but Omidyar has Omidyar Network, Omidyar Group, Omidyar LLC. And Omidyar Group is a 501c3, or sorry, 501c4. And so that is funding the rest of these things. And she keeps saying that they are a hybrid to where one funds the other. And she says, oh no, I know all of the money is coming from him, but you don't know that because it's coming from a 501c4. And the distinction that she made is that it has to have like some sort of political influence.
Yep.
And so I don't know if the Omidyar funds a bunch of like liberals and conservative journalists or not. I have no idea who all they fund.
They funded like what was it? They funded The Intercept as well. Like, it's a very left-wing source.
Well, that was
I don't
the
know
idea
how
that
they
I
fund
got,
them
is that it
already,
was
but-
all farther left groups that they were funding, further left.
Yeah, but
journalists.
when she says nonpartisan, she's being very intentional, because partisan in the legal sense that she's using would also make Chorus nonpartisan,
Correct.
because they're a nonprofit.
50
Nonpartisan
yes.
just means you're not like giving money to politicians, and yeah.
Right, the 501c4 would make them nonprofit, or sorry, not it would make them nonpartisan. So yeah, that's that it does seem as though they have like some sort of partisan goals, just they are a 501c4. But yeah,
You
just
can look at their website as well. They're talking about how they want to promote like DEI and shit. Like, yeah, they're obviously left leaning. It's just, but yeah, it's just not partisan and legally. Yeah.
So it did seem as though she was kind of holding a standard that like this was some sort of bad influence on the political space, when she seems to also have a similar influence.
Yeah, there was a
okay.
high key rules for the enough for me moment, to be honest.
So I didn't like I heard a little bit about this, but like I don't you know more than I do, Tom. So you'll have to help me out here. So could you so this funding source, is she saying that like, oh, I don't have to disclose this when you have to disclose that, or is she saying that like in terms of how you should view these two organizations, they're completely different? Yeah, which one?
Yeah, the way that you would view the types of funding is different. That one group, because you don't know where the money is coming from 1630, that this could be some sort of like nefarious funding that is influencing your ideas and the directives for Chorus. Whereas for her, she believes that she knows Omidyar is like he's a billionaire and that he's paying for all of it him personally when it's a 501c4, so you don't know that.
Correct.
And then
So
also,
to be clear,
it's not a five. Just a one factual correct. It's not a 501c4 that funds the reporters in residence. It says it's their foundation, which I believe is a 501c3, but then it's also the LLC.
But that's Omidyar Network.
Is obviously that's dark money,
yes,
right?
that's Omidyar Network, but Omidyar Group is part of the fuck, what is that? But they like it's part of the hybrid, which is a 501c4.
So could you?
The hybrid is a 501c3 and an LLC. That's the hybrid.
Is it? I thought Omidyar Group was also part of that. I thought it was all three.
This is their response, because they put out a response to people claiming that because of Taylor saying because people claiming that Taylor was funded by 1630, right? Yeah, but their response in their website says Omidyar receives no funding for reporters in residence through the 1630 fund. Our programmatic work is supported entirely via the foundation and LLC. So obviously the foundation is C3, the LLC is it's just an LLC. It's
wait, I thought Omidyar Group was the foundation, and I thought that was the C4.
No, that's. I don't think so. No.
Okay.
So did she or did she not like disclose this?
Yeah, she did. She did disclose it again. It was more about the influence that she was talking about. That
it's the dark money thing that she's
did she disclose
going
it?
Against, yeah.
Did she disclose it before? Like, when did she did she disclose it before this article, or was it after this?
Sorry.
Article?
Okay, it's Omidyar Family that is the 501c4, and that. Yes, this is.
Wait, is just didn't disclose it until people started probing into her. Then that's a lack of transparency.
So this is the I'll read just what this says. This says that Omidyar entity is it says the Omidyar Network operates both a limited liability company LLC and a 501c3 foundation, while Omidyar Family 501c4 disclosures documents Omidyar's own separate but related contributions to 501c4 organizations. Therefore, Omidyar Network itself is not a 501c4, but the Omidyar family does support 501c4 organizations through their family funds. Okay, so maybe it's just saying that they fund them. Okay.
Yeah, but the reporters in residence that funds Taylor, that's supported by the 501c3 and the LLC. The C3 is transparent, the LLC is not. So that's why people say she's taking dark money, because she knows it's coming from the LLC, but she doesn't know where the LLC gets the money from. That's why it's dark money.
Right.
By her definition.
So my understanding was that like, and I could be wrong.
We should talk about it.
And I could be wrong. Is that like Taylor disclosed this beforehand? People like knew this already.
Yeah. Again, we weren't talking about the disclosure.
About taking money.
Yeah. Again, we weren't just talking about the disclosure because a lot of her issues in the article seem to be with the fact that dark money is involved at all and the influence that it can have on content creators.
Yeah, that was just for Mercedes because she asked the question. And
okay.
Yeah, I didn't know if she disclosed beforehand or she just started disclosing it after this article backlash came out.
Well, as far as she says, she hasn't even gotten paid from them either. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry. She's saying she didn't get paid from them?
She says she hasn't gotten money yet. She
hasn't got a check yet.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's like an annual thing. I think the journalist in residence it lasts like 6 months. So yeah.
Yeah, she's still on par to be paid from them.
Okay, so I got a super chat from
LLC.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, you go to your super chat first.
Bear Claw says
Okay, all right,
for
well,
$9.99. He
Dark money
said,
coming in.
so yes, exactly, yeah. So what is more likely? This org is paying creators to influence their opinion, or they are paying them because the opinions the creators already have. It's not hard unless you're being bad faith. So I guess we'll start with Prime. Do you think that they're asking influencers to kind of move, if they're like grabbing far left people or anybody who would normally be critical of the DNC or of Israel, that they are going to limit those people? Or do you think they're finding people who already agree with them?
So I already answered this question, earlier, but I'll do it again for this chatter supporting Tom. Good work on that. Yeah, I think that from my limited observations into all of this, it seems like they're just finding people they already agree with them. And rather than necessarily like going and censoring them specifically. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. It might exist, but I just haven't seen it. And that's just the easier way of doing things, right? Rather than taking someone in, like establishing like some sort of financial relationship with them that in itself can be scrutinized by the law, right? And this individual doesn't align with you, is going to fight you, and going to be a troublemaker. It's much easier to find someone who more or less agrees with your opinion, and then build up their platform and so they can reach more people. Right? That's the far easier way of doing this. So as far as I know, that's how they're doing it, and I think it's okay to gatekeep. I mean, like, you can decide who you pay your money to. It doesn't have to, just because you're opening a shop like this doesn't mean all political all sides of the political spectrum or all sides left have to be involved, right? So they're allowed to do that. And even again, I myself would not be included. They wouldn't want me in something like this, which is unfortunate for me, but still I think completely they're right.
I think from some of what I heard, I believe they do have leftists as part of this, like people who are much farther left, people who are most of what they do is criticize like the establishment Democrats and like talk about Israel,
Although
Gaza.
maybe I should join up. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe I should put an application.
Dispel.
Then I would disclose, right?
Sure. Dispel, did you want to answer the question?
Would you mind reminding me on the question?
Yeah, they're asking, do you think that people go ahead and pay people who already have the same beliefs that align with the goals of the organization, or do you think that they're limiting people after starting to pay them?
I definitely try. I think Course is doing a good job. They've got a couple of variety of voices, so they're trying to see what works, what resonates with the people in like a testing environment, and that makes sense to me. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But if the goal is to incentivize virality, if the goal is to take up space in the digital sphere to get people's attention, I think the incentive structure that Course has got right now incentivizes not virality, not competition and creativity, but nepotism. And I think, Mercedes and I agree that this program would do great with some sort of incentive reward structure, right? Taylor Lorenz is on her, half a year, 1 year sort of sabbatical to enter into the program. I think that's great. And then once you are in the program, like a scoreboard every month for whoever, gets the most engagement, I think is a great way to turn it.
All right. And then let's see. I just lost my entire page. I guess somebody had a question earlier that I thought was for LonerBox, but I'm not exactly sure what they mean by it. But they said that, do you think that money is fungible? I don't know.
That'd be for me.
Sorry?
I think maybe might be. I think it might be for you, or maybe actually might be more for Tom here. But in any case, the reason why I think they mean is that we talked about how they're getting the money, right? But then we were questioning, was it used for the content or not? But if they were getting $8,000, right? How would you know where that check went through? I mean, $8,000 came in, and then it helped them presumably have a better setup, have something, right? We wouldn't know what we couldn't follow $1 versus another. So it being fungible. So yeah, you guys, if anyone wants to speak to that.
Okay. Yeah, that was from Lord of the Nerds. He also that was for $2. He also sent another $5. Imagine arguing this hard not to disclose political financial support. Imagine being such a tribalist that you argue hiding political financing is okay. I don't think anybody's saying that like that anybody should hide it. I don't think like anybody was saying hide it. I just
You should just stick to the law.
Oh, I think
you
my
shouldn't do anything more.
Yeah, well, even I don't think there's any laws that said that you have to disclose this sort of thing again, unless they are actually sponsoring your
that's
content.
where the opportunity to show your personal values comes in.
Right, but you just said that you need to stick to the law.
Go above and beyond.
You did just say stick to the law.
No, that's the bare minimum, right? That's the bare minimum position of our guest libs on this show. And what Prime and I are saying is that there's a good creative opportunity for you to show and demonstrate your values by releasing information. By being transparent.
I think the part in the contract they were saying they're not allowed to use funds or resources that they receive to make content that supports or opposes a candidate or campaign without authorization. Is that the bit you're talking about?
From the article it said I could have sworn in the article it specifically said that they couldn't use it for content. But they might have been quoting somebody when they said that.
Content that supports.
But
I think they're saying content that supports or opposes a candidate or campaign.
That might be what the contract is saying, but I correct me if I'm wrong. I could have sworn the article specified that they couldn't use the money for content because then they would be a sponsor. And if they're sponsoring their content, now they have to disclose it. And so that would be a pretty big difference, right?
How would that make any sense? Because obviously, if is it $8,000, obviously, you just have to show that you made more money that month to put towards content.
I don't know, but that's
sure. I'm looking at all dimensions.
It would likely have to go into a separate account that shows that like you're not using the money for the content.
Yeah, it looks like they're saying content. Well, unless this paragraph is just doubled without the candidate bit, but it's saying content that supports or opposes a political candidate or campaign without authorization.
That's what the article says?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, that's just another example of like, it sounds like they're doing something restrictive, but that's just FEC. Obviously, if they're a 501c4, they can't have their money from their, you can't have like them paying to support a candidate or a campaign, because that would make it a PAC thing, wouldn't it? That would be like an FEC violation.
Yes.
That's just them staying within the law.
Exactly.
Wait a minute, hold on. Would it? Actually, I can't pretend like I know the legalities of this, but like, I don't think that would be the case, but I could be completely wrong.
I don't think it's regulated by the FEC. It's regulated by the FCC. And because there's like an insane amount of chaos in the current Donald Trump FCC, like we can get away with a ton of stuff, and then when it's come time to hold people accountable to it, to examine values, we get shit on.
Well, the point of that paragraph is that you couldn't have a situation where someone has like, or maybe it's again to avoid one of those situations where someone says like, oh, thanks for Chorus for funding this, like for helping me make this video that is me doing a political ad for a candidate. Obviously that would be illegal, right? Because they're not supposed, again, one of the rules of being a 501c4 is you cannot directly support a candidate. No? Why is everyone so quiet?
I'm not sure if that's the case.
What bit am I saying that you're not sure about?
Sorry, yeah, the 501c4 part, right? You're saying not directly fund a candidate. Like, I don't know. I mean, 501c4s do like take political action. They send out political messages, like in the form of advertisements. So like that seems wrong to me. But again, I might be speaking on my ass. I don't maybe understand the legalities of it all. You might have a better idea.
So what I've got here, my understanding for 501c4 is that, I think some of it has to do with whether or not it's the main thing that they do. But here, for making campaign contributions, that's one where it says that you can't do that for federal candidates. You can in some states. So that's one for a 501c4. The other one is if you are like sponsoring a debate, they can't support or endorse a candidate, say if they're like sponsoring a debate. So yeah, that's probably why they would do that. They're probably just saying, again, but it sounds like they could do it with authorization from Chorus. But again, this would just be Chorus making sure that if a creator is going to do
Does
this with their money, then they're doing it in a way that's not illegal.
does content that supports like count as a contribution, like an ad?
Content that supports an ad, I think it would, wouldn't it? Because ads are,
Maybe.
you always have to say, don't you? Like,
Yeah, it'd be like a
for
sponsorship.
Well,
advertising.
no,
Like, I remember looking for it.
not that is actually an ad, but like, so like, I'm gonna do a video, right, about a friend Tom here, right? Tom's running for office, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I looked at Tom's platform, and it seems great, you know, like these are the things I like about him, and I'm very hopeful for his candidacy, right? That video is supportive of Tom, right? But it's not necessarily an ad for Tom. It's just me like giving my opinion, saying it's supportive. Does that count as a contribution? I don't know. Like I'm not
I
expecting
think
you to
it
know.
does, but with 501c4s, the way that, because it seems like they can do some of it, and they do some of it. The issue is whether or not it's their primary activity. So that's probably why you would have to disclose it to them before doing it.
Right. It's not
To make
as if
sure-
like
and also
anybody who
because of the
super
difference between federal and
chats.
state candidates.
Yeah, it's not as if like any super chatter like is now like supporting your content. Now you have to like have some big disclosure over this because it's very different when it's a 501c4. Because they have restrictions.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
them.
I think these are interesting questions. It may be.
Yeah, I think we're
LonerBox. Sorry.
I think we're losing the forest through the legal trees. I think trying to mince apart the exact sort of semantic barriers for each legal classification it's just exposing the same sort of values. You know, we're just going to stick to the law-based things just like that. We're not going to go above and beyond. I think this is just a dark money tactic to divert from the analysis here, which is actually analyzing liberal values. And when we try and analyze liberal values, we get berated for it.
Yeah.
And you can
Okay.
make it about the
No,
one thing you've only wanted to talk about the entire time, but this is just an example of there being a
The course
paragraph in
article
the
is
article. Like,
what we're talking about.
it's just
The
a
course
paragraph.
article?
Yeah, it's a paragraph in the article that is just again presenting something to sound restrictive, even though it's just seems like legal compliance. Like not bare minimum, but legal compliance, like avoiding doing criminal shit with the
Yeah, this is
money.
what I'm saying. This is the forest through the trees.
It's not forest for the trees. It's the article presenting something that is that them actually doing something good, but in the context of trying to make it look like it's restrictive.
Yeah, not breaking the law is good. I completely agree. I also think that going above and beyond to demonstrate your personal values of transparency is also good.
And piling it into, so the thing they said prior to that is to say that they're being restrictive with interviews, and then after they say, oh, they're not allowed to use their funds to support or
unfairly
candidate or a campaign. Yeah, they're making it sound unfair, but yeah,
because obviously all parts of a contract
get out.
Well, no, all parts of a contract are restrictive to some extent. Like it probably even says that if you get banned from the platform that you're on, like on TikTok, and violate the TLS, that you'll likely lose your contract as well, but that nobody would consider that to be unfair. And so she's mentioning specific parts of the contract as though these parts are unfairly restrictive. And that's the point, is that she, like, just the fact that she mentions it and says this is like restricting their content makes it sound as though this is unfair. But then if everybody afterwards is like, no, she's just stating facts. It's just what the contract says. Nobody's disputed this.
Life is unfair.
Sorry?
Life is unfair. I feel like this isn't 2016 anymore. I feel like as everyone, as a community, as the left, we should understand that life is unfair, and we're gonna have to take
expect people to shit on you if you're going to be
tasting bullets to see. This is just legitimizing the abusive attitude that these people have.
Sorry,
there's no critique within the liberal.
There was a critique. You just said there was a critique. You just skirted past it and just started talking about people doing bare minimum legal stuff.
Yeah, you adhere to the law. Congrats.
You were just complying.
Congrats. Congratulations. You adhere to the law.
Yeah, you adhere to the law, and we're going to frame it in our article as something bad.
Is this not a topic worth discussing? That is a system that is bad.
Oh, do you see how you just completely dodged
the thing I said in front of money, and then that goes in front of dark doesn't mean that means it's negative or bad. It's just a reality of the system.
You just completely dodged what I said. I don't know why you're dodging the critique. I don't know why the critique upsets you.
Well, you believe, Dispel, that the article is putting the onus on Chorus and 1630, not on like the FCC or FEC, right?
No, yeah, I 100% agree. Like, unfortunately, the FCC is, kind of compromised right now, and I think it is up to creators to demonstrate what they think should be the case, and not just meet the bare minimum of this corrupt FCC.
Okay, but you understand
Yeah,
that
they should disclose.
we're
And I think
talking.
that critique should just come from a better place than Taylor Lorenz. Yeah.
All right, we got a couple others. So $4.99 from Bear Claws. He said, so why make a story like this unless to disrupt the party? That's my problem with Taylor's story, is putting light on something, putting light on nothing and calling foul. So that is, I think, what we were just talking about a second ago, is that, like, it seems as though she's calling a bunch of things that are unfair, but then when we go over them, everybody seems to be like, yeah, that makes sense, that would be in the contract. So now that is the disparity here, is a lot of us are thinking.
I don't know if we all agreed on all that. No, I don't think we agreed on all that. I don't like this idea of disrupting the party. The party should be examined. We should be taking a look at these things. Now, it might be as a wing of the political spectrum that we decide that this is okay, right? Like that, we go through this process of discussion and we decide, oh, actually, this is not so bad. Okay, that's fine, right? But like examining examining this organization, examining this new structure here on the left, which again I think is welcome. We should actually do that. We should be critical, right? We shouldn't just because it's like nominally aligned with the Democrats doesn't mean that we should just support it blindly. This is a part of that examination, and I welcome it.
Okay.
I think I actually agree with that. I just think the problem, again, is, since the topic of the debate or whatever, is that earlier I asked if there was one thing in that article that was positive about Chorus, and I think the answer I got was positive things that 1630 does, even though she spends the whole article calling them dark money. So that's probably not a good example of a positive thing about them.
I mean, she talks about how Chorus is going to do the trainings, and it's going to do
that's just describing their mission, though. That's not her.
I don't know, but you're saying positive, so that sounds like PR to me. Like, she doesn't have to
why does it need
put
to be
something like
that's what I'm trying to say. Because your position, which I think is much more reasonable, is that yes, this is a good thing and we should support it, but there's just these problems that can be ironed out for them to do better, versus Taylor's article, which is not coming from a place of we want you to do better. It's coming from a place of, maybe you can tell me, are there any recommendations that are posed in that article towards Chorus?
No.
I mean, the purpose of the article is to stoke discourse, right? And liberals have lost the opportunity to talk about the role of money in incentivizing behavior in our system and what their stance on that is.
I'll just ask the question again. Are there any recommendations in the article, or no? Any kind of
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there would be necessarily a recommendation. I mean, the thing that she does do is she talks to outside, third party. Examine the contract, and then they give their opinion.
Did we just get hit by a cyber attack?
But sorry.
Yeah, the Discord dropped off. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So she sent it to these third party professors, and they gave their opinions on it, and some of them felt this was very restrictive, and were unsure about this, and asked for caution while stepping into this world. But in terms of a specific recommendation as to what to do, no. But I don't know that it has to have a recommendation. I don't know why that would be necessary.
You're right, it's not necessary, but as far as I could see, there was only one semblance of a recommendation, and it came from Spahar, I think their name's pronounced, where they were just saying that we shouldn't be using these middlemen groups, which
well, I mean, it seems to be the prescription.
But the way that they're saying it is,
it
seems to be don't do any of it. It seems to be. So I was, where's Spahar? Where are they saying? They're saying what we need is for people to invest in independent media, and that doesn't necessarily mean investing in a consulting group that is going to become a middleman for independent media. But again, they're all middlemen if they're not just doing directly. So this just sounds like the only recommendation, or the only semblance of a recommendation here, is that creators should just rely on benefactors, like donors, patrons.
And I
super
disagreed with
chats.
this particular. I'm glad you point out this comment because I disagreed with it. Right, like I think that you can have a group that is, if it's providing like a benefit, right, within this transaction, then that I wouldn't call it necessarily just a middleman, right? Like it again from the reporting, it sounds like they're giving them a whole bunch of other trainings and access to like connecting them with candidates that they might not always be connect to, right? Expanding their ability to do content. I wouldn't call that person a middleman. However, I can see why they would think that if you have to run your interviews through them, right? Like, hey, like I can't because there was that whole Zoran line, right? Like if I get Zoran, I have to go through Chorus, and I don't want to do that. Like that sounds like a middleman to me. Like, why would I have to do that? I got this thing on my own. They're not involved. So
Well, that comment about Zoran was specifically from someone who didn't start working with Chorus. And as far as we know, more than one creator has said that they actually can just go independently by themselves, or at least if they're cluing people in, it's just for contact reasons or whatever. But again,
did
you're
they
getting,
show
you're getting
like?
paid.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know how you can show a receipt
Okay.
for that. I think the receipts that she did show were her emailing politicians like through her own personal email, and it seemed like it just looked like she was just setting stuff up by herself. But
Again, the
maybe she's
contract
lying. I
seems
don't
to
know.
be saying that, like, if you use their booking system through the Chorus newsroom, that through that, once you go through that, you have to do everything through them or loop them in on all of the details. But that if you go do stuff by yourself on your own, that it's not necessarily going to be involved.
But there's
I
definitely
didn't.
a cohort
I
that
didn't
is
get
taking
that.
these. There's definitely a cohort that's taking these daily meetings, right? I think it's entirely possible that Chorus did something very smart, which is breaking up the creators into cohorts, into groups based on what they think they can cultivate the creators into being. And one of those cohorts might have been one with a more heavy hand, a more sterner look, just to see like what works. Right? Liberalism is all about taking these incremental changes that you can reverse and to see like what works, what doesn't work.
So the article says creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. So it doesn't sound like it was saying that what you implied.
That
there, Tom,
contract was
that is
published, though. That part of the
Sure.
contract was published, and
Okay.
in the published part of the
Okay.
contract, it's all under booking through the Chorus newsroom.
under. Okay, if you can show me that, then that'd be great. No, I'm not.
I can
calling
read you
live.
the whole thing if you want, or I can give you a screenshot.
Please, go ahead,
I managed to navigate around her bobbing head, fucking TikTok.
Yes, that was
yeah, she was
frustrating.
saying, so this is under book engagements section. Chorus will provide contractors with access to the Chorus newsroom, which coordinates booking and engagement opportunities for creators with government officials, policy and nonprofit experts, and others whose expertise and experiences are relevant to Chorus's progressive policy agenda. Contractor agrees to 1, utilize the Chorus newsroom to book engagements, 2, disclose to Chorus newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda that the contractor arranges through other means, and 3, collaborate fully with Chorus regarding all such separately arranged engagements. So
Wait a
seems to be
minute,
for
that seems
separately
like
arranged. Yeah. Like it seems for separately and newsroom engagements, Chorus wants to get looped in. Although
Yeah.
again, looping in, I don't know if that means like, she used the word funnel as well as looping in. I think even though they seem to have different meanings, but looping in seems
Are you
like,
familiar with the phrase like circling back?
yeah.
So I
That's
think
sort of like
that
go ahead, sorry.
Well, my interpretation was
well,
that
I just-
was that if they booked it through the newsroom, but they didn't actually use their production setup, that even if they still had the newsroom produce or book it, but they were doing it somewhere else on some other setup or somebody else's stream or something like that, that was the separate part, and that was what you would still have to disclose, because the fact that people said that they've never had to disclose these sorts of things makes it seem like, yeah, that's because it's only due to whether or not you do it through the Chorus newsroom.
I think that might be too generous. It could be that what it's saying is, because it says, again, people who are arranged through other means, and then you collaborate with Chorus regarding those other means fully as well. But again, that is probably because people are interacting with politicians and they don't want to risk someone interacting with a politician in a way that might end up with the creator doing kind of like a fuck up that looks like they're doing what they're not supposed to legally, because obviously interactions between money and politicians is always a big problem with FEC regulations or FCC. So but again, that might just be another thing where it's like a very draconian sounding contract, but we don't have any evidence that it's actually been applied in such a strict way. Because again, even common sense, how would that look in practice if we were saying any engagements outside of the newsroom with government officials or others on the policy agenda? That would mean that you have to tell Chorus like about everyone you're talking to, everyone. But are they
Well,
really doing that?
well, specifically, it would be government officials and
Others.
local government officials.
Well, no,
Well,
because
or
if you
others.
talk to
no,
Hassan
others. No,
about
you're right, you're right.
politics,
Or
it's
others.
political. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
yeah.
others on topics related to the policy agenda. So that could, that's
you're
broad.
correct.
That could be anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. So this seems quite broad. I think okay. First of all, I think your criticism here of LonerBox might be valid. That like, yes, it sounds more restrictive than it actually is. But to be fair to Taylor as well, she reached out to these creators, right? Like she reached out to like a whole list of them. And in the article, unless she's lying, of course, in the article, it states that they didn't actually get back to her. So if they wanted to make the case that, oh, well, yes, this is in the contract, but in actuality, we actually have a lot more freedom, then they could have done that. But it didn't seem like they did do that within the context of the article.
Well, and for whatever reason, again, like maybe they should have. Yeah, they should have been more responsive. They have responded in their videos, though. I don't know why people keep saying it's all just them accusing them of fake news. Like that Ali girl literally explained what it's like in practice. So she could have done that to Taylor, or she could have done that in a TikTok. It's not really any different.
But the way you were judging this article, at least the criticisms that's coming from the other side here, when you're judging this article, you're saying, well, it's written in this way where it's making these causes look bad, but in actuality, maybe they're not so bad. Well, and the only people, the people they have to support this viewing are people who didn't actually join in, right? People who like either were rejected or were rejected by Chorus or rejected Chorus. And in that space, like, well, actually, she tried. Taylor did try, and people didn't reach out, and so that's what she had to print, right? If that's how we're judging the article, that's what she had to print.
Although I don't think she would be, again, I don't think she was forced to just start listing all of these things, even though she has no idea actually if that's how it's being applied. Because
well, the same with the quote from the person about Mondani.
Long enough. Yeah, I mean, she's been in this industry long enough to know that contracts with NDAs, they always, even if this one's especially draconian, they always look draconian.
It's on the subjects and to reply, right? Like if this is the what their understanding of the story is, and that's what they should be putting out. They shouldn't necessarily hide this because oh, hey, I guess I can't be quite sure. This is what the contract says, right? This is a not a necessarily a bad faith interpretation of it. This is what it actually says. But they can respond within the article, but they chose not to. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe we had a better impression if they did.
Yeah, so again, it's like it's one of those things where if it was me, I would respond, but that's just because that's what I'm like. But I don't like using the unwillingness to respond to Taylor Lorenz, especially because I feel like anyone working for Chorus would know that an article from Taylor Lorenz, knowing what she's like, right, with her politics and her leanings, you would know that this is a hit piece and you might just not be interested. You might just feel like jaded. So I don't think you should use their lack of a reply to her specifically for an article as like any indication for or against them. To me, that's neutral. Like,
well, okay, no, I agree. I agree that like sorry, to be clear, I'm saying that their lack of response can be neutral in itself, right? But like you're judging the article on the fact that it puts out this clause, and then you're saying, well, now that makes it a hit piece. Well, no, I think putting out that clause is like neutral. This is what's in the contract. As long as she's not misrepresenting the contract, then she's not misrepresenting the contract. Like it seems like the judgment comes from, well, somehow Taylor should intuit that actually this isn't so bad, right? Without anyone actually talking to her, without anyone actually responding. See, she simply printed what she knew of the article. Like if the
Do you
article
think it's a coincidence that the Majority Report, the Hassan Piker, the Vanguard, that these like not like negligible outlets for left-wing alt media all read this in like the most absurd way possible? Like they inferred DNC money, they inferred choking them on their positions on Gaza, they inferred like establishment billionaires shield Democrat, like AstroTurf. They inferred so much. Do you think it's just a coincidence or like an accident, or do you think it might be the tone of the article was designed in that way?
The article, my reading of the article, doesn't imply that. However, it could. I'll like build a picture. It could be the case that yes, the tone of the article leaves room for people to interpret it in that way. Like so, when I was looking into again David Pakman's response to those comments, people were saying, "Oh yeah, this is why." David Pakman hasn't commented on Gaza. Like we finally figured out. And like I was extremely skeptical of that. Like not having read the article at that point, I was extremely skeptical of that. You know, I think the reason David Pakman has a comment on Gaza is because he's a dog shit Zionist, right? And he understands that his point of view is unpopular within the party. So he's doing the smart thing and not commenting at all, right? But I think it's quite mundane in the dog shitness of his policy agenda. But like, yes, but to assume that that wasn't necessarily his opinion, especially since he's been like the Gaza situation has been going on for so long, right? And to now like transplant that back, right? Oh, it must have been this Shaoli organization. I thought it was completely unfair. And it could be the case the article leaves room for that.
Okay.
Yeah, some people don't even need money to be
I need to
Zionists.
pee. I'm really
Like
sorry.
me.
1 second.
Okay.
All right, we have a $5 from Cowboy Marks. He said it seems like people are not clear on the timeline. The Alley Girls TikTok didn't debunk anything. The info she shared, creators' disclosures, and her email to politician was from prior to these contracts being shared. They were only shared in June. Wait, the info she shared, creators' disclosures, and her email to politician was from prior to these contracts being shared. I'm not understanding what that has to do with anything.
Did this person make a previous disclosure? They're saying, like in June?
Maybe they missed a disclosure.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I
Like-
feel like our problem
okay.
isn't that these people aren't missing disclosures or they're not following the law. It's entirely possible that there's multiple cohorts within Chorus that have slightly different plans for themselves and how they're going to be motivated by the Chorus infrastructure. And so, one group might have disclosed really early, right?
Yeah, no,
The
yes, Allie, we understand
discussion-
that Allie did disclose these things ahead of time, and that Allie did. Yeah, and that the emails and all, like the contract, all of that was prior. Yeah, of course, that would have to be the case.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then we have Limerence. He said, and while we sit for $5 tip, he said, and while we sit and examine and critique conservatives win elections and ruin the country. Yeah, I think that was a big part of what people were saying, is that like to hold people to these standards is fine. These are standards that most people believe in, but it's a little bit it's not great to like hold Democrats to standards that Republicans aren't held to, because this is just a way for Democrats to continue losing. And so they would rather just advocate for the laws to be changed to where everybody has to disclose these things, instead of saying, hey, Democrats, we're going to like make sure that you're held to a much higher standard continuously, to where obviously we want Democrats to be held to a higher standard in some ways, because otherwise we wouldn't vote for them. But I think that that's like a big part of it, is that a lot of people feel like this is just disadvantaging Democrats. All right, Arian for $2.50. He said, yo, LonerBox, Prime, what happened to you, man? I'm very disappointed in your conversation with Pisco. For you to think Harris is going to be the same as Trump or make no difference for Gazans is wild. No compromise is the only progressive white woman. Does anybody know who?
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, who?
Oh, sorry. Does anyone who what?
Was he talking to you?
Does anyone know who what? Yeah, he's talking to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't say that there was no difference between Harris and Trump. In fact, I think it was very clear, extremely clear. I didn't think there was, I did think there was a difference between them. That wasn't like the reason behind my vote, though. Like, correct? Like, if not, just like please review the VOD because it was extremely clear. We looped so many times on exactly why I voted the way I voted. So, like, that's a okay.
I will say in my
thank you for
debates
supporting,
with Pisco as
Tom.
well, he tends to argue against a position that I don't have and repeat it over and over, and I end up correcting him over and over, and he repeats it over and over,
Oh my
and
God,
I correct
yes.
him over and over.
That's
yes,
what just
that is-
happened.
that's
Holy
every
shit, that's
debate
exactly
with
what
Pisco.
happened
Yeah.
last night.
Yep, that's
I mean,
every debate
Pisco
I
is
have
a
with
lawyer.
Pisco.
He's used to. Pisco's a lawyer. He's used to charging by the hour.
Fair enough. And we went for a long time. But yeah, that wasn't my point at all.
Yep.
It's a bold claim.
Let's see.
Pisco.
Lord of
Pisco's
the
my boy,
Nerds also for $5 super chat said Walmart is just trying to quietly pay Walmart fans to make better stream to talk about Walmart. What's the problem? I mean, does anybody want to explain the difference between Walmart paying people to talk about Walmart products versus this? No.
It's kind of a very similar problem. I mean, the only difference is that Chorus and PV are nonprofit and Walmart is for profit. And in fact, they actually don't pay their workers enough, and their workers need to take like SNAP to afford food.
I mean,
That's probably
I think
Walmart.
the difference is that with politics and money is that the principle of living in a democracy is that it's one person, one vote. But politics is about empowering the individual to shape the future of like the society that they live in. So obviously you want to avoid as much as possible, or when it is happening, be as transparent as possible when people who have much more money than other people are able to make their voice much louder and more powerful than the person down the road from them. That's probably why.
Yeah, but LonerBox, you don't believe in radical transparency. You just believe about adhering to the boilerplate, which is fine.
No, it's actually,
just not
if you
values
were
that I'm or I share. And I think the majority
it's
of
not my fault that
individuals
you're
who
not
are
listening to a
independent
fucking
in
word I'm
America
saying,
actually
but
value.
I did say that I think it'd be better if these people had disclosed. I think generally people should disclose. You should actually change the law so that people should have to disclose this.
Yeah, but that's not what I said.
So I don't know where the fuck you got that from. You're just a liar, just parroting.
I'm a liar.
Fucking bird brain.
He's
yes, you're a liar.
It's literally the classic.
Nice work there, LonerBox.
Lying. They're a shill. Yeah, awesome.
And then Van Dread for $2 said,
birds of a feather, you and Taylor Lorenz. Sorry.
I see what you did there.
No, she disrupts. I dispel.
Just trying to pigeonhole me. Fucked.
That's so good.
Whoa, I don't want to do anything with your pigeonhole. In fact, we should keep those sort of people out of our politics. Those people should not be welcome in the Democratic Party. These people who want to pigeonhole.
You got any more puns for us, Prime?
You mean LonerBox?
No,
LonerBox
you said that you sounded like you were about to say something. So.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm not as clever. LonerBox has got me beat on the puns.
Okay. Not necessarily puns. I thought you had something to say about the Walmart thing.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Walmart. Yeah, so Walmart, in my understanding of the question, hopefully I didn't get it incorrect, is that Walmart, enters into some relationship with a influencer and has them like promote a product. I think that's different than like getting involved in a company, like if you're a political influencer, getting involved with an organization that is political in and of itself. And I think this company is political. But for both, you should disclose, right? Like, so they're different. You're being paid, but like in the end result, you should be told, right? Like if I'm presenting this product, right, that happens from Walmart.com, and I'm getting a check from them, I should let you know that this is the case. This section of the video sponsored by our good friends at Walmart. Ugh, that makes me feel disgusting saying it, but like, I should let you know.
It's Walmart
right?
family.
Oh my God! Please no. But yeah, hopefully that helps.
Okay. And then the last one was from Van Tread asking, Says, why are you bald, Tom? So thank you. Okay, one more from Arian for 250. He said,
You're
Boner
looking shiny
Box,
as ever.
you should educate Tomfoolery on IP. Sometimes he has pretty bad takes on history. Wait, what is that? Okay, never mind. I don't care. All right, we got
I got it. So
I
gotta go. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say we
Not bad
gotta
IP
we
takes,
gotta finish
mention
up.
that.
So let me
Swoop in.
do you guys want to give some outros real quick? Prime, do you want to tell everybody where to find you?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Tom. Tom, hung out a lot on my channel. And a good guy, honestly. I've always had a fun time interacting with him. Always been kind to me, and so I was happy that he reached out. It was nice talking with you all. I met just meeting most of you. So it was nice
Likewise.
talking to you. And LonerBox, yes, and LonerBox is nice to see you again. I think LonerBox is always a challenging person to have as an opponent, and so it's always quite fun to spar with them. So shout out to you, LonerBox. I hope you are doing well. Yes,
Love you.
come find me. Thank you. On twitch.tv and youtube.com/PrimeCayes, PrimeCayes. We do debates. We yell at each other in a big group. It's a whole bunch of fun. I think you'll enjoy it as well. Come follow me there. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Have
thank
a
you
great
so
one,
much for
everyone. I
coming.
have to wrap
Prime's
that up.
also linked in the description as well, so you guys can check him out over there. He hosts lots of panels and debates there. Mercedes, go ahead.
Howdy y'all. Thanks for watching. Tom is awesome. I'm just glad to be here and listen. I take like a very, I don't know, conservative, coded, liberal approach to everything. So my answer is to just shut up, put your head down and work, and hopefully it all pans out. It's panned out for the conservatives, so I'm just hoping to attempt and replicate the same kind of shit, but the leftists are these speed bumps in the road. But I love you guys regardless, because I'd rather sit at a table with a bunch of leftists than a bunch of fucking Republicans. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mercedes.
Preach.
And appreciate you coming. I was glad you were able to make it. LonerBox.
I think it's good to want Democrats and left-leaning people to do better. I think it's also good to distinguish people who want Dems and left-leaning people to do better from people who just are parasites and want to use the Democratic Party as long as it can be a vehicle to further their agenda that most people don't identify with. I think there is a real problem now of people who are only there to destroy, who are only there to watch, to try and get the party and to get people who support the party to fail. Revolutionaries, commies, people who are obsessed with the free Gaza or free Palestine shit, even though, again, at the end of the day, it seems like most of them would just be happy watching half of the world's Jews get thrown into the sea. You spot the good critics from the bad ones, just like you do in your everyday life, you know? There are some people who want you to grow and they'll give you critique. There are other people who are just trying to bring you down. And I think it's quite clear what Taylor was doing with that article. Thanks for having me, Tom. Glad we got to make new friends.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. And just a reminder for chat, we are not ending. We've got a bunch more debates coming up. We're doing a 24-hour subathon. Destiny versus Rob Noor coming up next. And then we have another panel after that. So don't go anywhere. And then Dispel. Where can people find you?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Tom, for hosting this. This was my first live debate. I really enjoyed it. The people can find me at twitch.tv/dispel_marketable streams. That's twitch.tv/dispel marketable streams. We do great content. I fundamentally believe that getting true information takes a little bit of hard work, and I try not to spoon feed things in my content. We're going to be going over a lot of interesting stuff, Jevons paradox, complexity, these sorts of paradoxes, while playing some awesome games. This weekend, we're going to be playing a Dream Barbecue, this, weeb sort of game.
Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Tom. Have a good evening. Good
Later.
luck to
Okay. Oh my goodness.